All right, Jastin, A through Z.
S.
S. S. S. Uh, oh yeah. Some people went to space ish, kinda. Not really. Uh, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm really annoyed by all that. Mainly because they act like they're astronauts. So much so that they're like, hey, you wouldn't question a man if he did this. I wouldn't question him being an astronaut. I would. Because you did not go to space, you dicks. You
Or
went
do the training that astronauts do.
that. And you went to the edge of space. You went to the edge of the atmosphere. You stayed so much in the atmosphere, you technically did not re-enter the atmosphere. Hence why they weren't wearing the same clothes that astronauts wear. Because they did not re-enter. Because they never left. And also, you didn't train. You were fucking passengers on a plane. You did not earn this other than the fact that you were rich and popular.
That's the most frustrating part about it too, is like this was to show, opportunities for women and all these things. And it's like 99% of people won't be able to afford that. So no, it wasn't for anything actually important.
Or, I don't know, those women astronauts. How about that?
Right. The ones that already existed
Yeah,
before you.
already actual.
But it was also the fact too that like Katy Perry was like kissing the ground when she got back down or whatever. Like it just was a whole experience with her. It was insane.
Oh, it gets worse because she also said that you don't even know what true love really is until you have to leave your love behind to travel to space. And I'm like, you didn't do any of that.
Yeah. Like that whole thing sounded to me like she's like, you have to leave the people that you love to realize if you actually love them. And the only way you could do that is if you go to space. That's exactly what that sounded like to me. Because it was something like, you just don't realize the love you can give and receive until you've just push launched and you don't know if you, something to the effect of like, you don't know when you're going to be able to come back to them or something along those lines.
I'm pretty sure you come back to them at the, the designated return time because you were essentially on a really high plane flight.
It was just
wow.
bonkers.
This is why I'm seeing so many memes of people hating on this. Yeah, I'm starting to understand.
You remember like a decade ago when that guy went up to the edge of space and jumped out and did a halo jump that was all Red Bull and shit? Yeah, they went that high. That's what they did. They went that high. And they didn't even do anything cool like jump out of it. You know what's crazy? You know what Tom Cruise did? That. You know what he also did? Jumped out of it. Because remember, people, Tom Cruise did a halo jump.
He never claimed to be an astronaut afterwards.
Did not. He claimed to be one crazy son of a bitch, but he did not claim to be an astronaut.
Wow.
Yeah, and what was...
Apparently also up in the space shuttle or whatever the fuck it was, that, high plane or whatever. Dude, apparently Katy Perry was like singing It's a Small World or whatever whilst they were up there on the edge of space and shit. And everybody was like, it was transcendent. I'm like, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, I heard something about that. I thought they said like it was the best part was when we came back and got to sing it together. And so the best part was when you got back. I could be misremembering that, but I was like, yeah, either way, like, why is that the best part of this life-changing journey?
I'm not going to lie. If I went to space, I'd probably say the best part of it was going to space.
Right.
Yeah.
There wouldn't really be a debate on what the best part was on that.
I mean, it's all cool and all that I came back, but I went to space.
But what was her face, Gail King, that was like, have you gone to space? Like,
yeah, she's saying shit like that. Like, motherfucker, shut up. Like, you technically haven't been to outer space either. You went to really high inner space. You did not go to outer space.
Man.
But also the audacity
like
to call
Perry.
themselves
Makes me
astronauts.
sad.
They are not explorers of the cosmos. You are a bunch of dickheads. Rich dickheads.
It was also a shame, though, that like one of the reporters kind of like fed that narrative too, where because when she interviewed Katy Perry, she's like, "So you're officially an astronaut now. What's that feel like?" or something like that. And I was like, "Why is the reporter feeding into this?" Like,
I mean, the thing is, and the sad thing is there was some non-rich people on that too. There's like a scientist and like someone else that like went up there too. And I do feel bad for them because my outrage is not directed at them. You know why? Because they're not being dickheads about it. They were just like, it's a really, it was a really cool thing, guys. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. You can say that. You can say it was really cool. I'm really,
that's perfectly all right.
I'm really, proud and honored that I was one of the people selected in all this. And nobody would be mad at you for saying that. I mean, kinda. If you're also just a rich person doing that shit, yeah, but still. But like, come on, people, read the room.
they're just acting like they changed people's lives by doing this. And I just don't understand. Like, yeah, it's like you said, read the room. It's very tone deaf. Like, it just doesn't, it feels bad.
But guys, all those billionaire young women can now be believe that they can be passengers that go almost to space, guys. Why are you taking away that dream from them? Dumb. Just dumb. Like, read the room. Like, have some humility. Just something. Like, take a little page out of Kendrick's book. Be humble.
There you go.
I mean, I feel like it was also the equivalent of like, what was it that Jojo Siwa said about like being the pop like queer icon or something like that?
Yeah,
or the first.
She's the first gay pop, or she's like, I'm the first person to make gay pop music or something like that, or I'm the gay pop icon. And everybody's like, motherfucker, shut up. Just shut up.
Yeah. That's what this feels like, because they're acting like there's never been any women astronauts ever. It's crazy.
When she's like, I'm the first person of my generation to do this drastic of an image overhaul. No, you're not. No, you're not. Shut up. Just stop it.
It's more and more why you appreciate the people like that know, that understand. Like, even with like the nepotism talk where Jack Wade's like, oh no, I'm very fortunate, very much like my parents is the reason that I can do what I do. Like, you appreciate things like that more when you hear these crazy stories of people that are like acting like what they're doing is the first that's ever happened in whatever field,
Yeah.
It's like you said, got to stay humble, man.
Yeah, just be humble.
Just be humble.
In other news, that's still also not movie related, but I'm going to make it movie related. Guys, guess what we're getting in like a week? An actual conclave.
Oh, I guess that's true, huh?
That's true.
Yeah, we're getting a conclave, guys. We saws it. We know how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're going to get a conclave, people. That's how I'm tying that into movies.
That was good.
Nice.
Outside of that, my little Penta minute. Penta had his WrestleMania match. Looked great in the green and gold. Loved it. I didn't like that he took a solo loss on Monday Night Raw, but at least it was a dirty finish. It was a dirty finish. So, is that outside interference? It's how you look strong in a loss, guys. It's how you look strong in a loss.
Yeah. Also cool that his brother, Ray Phoenix, got to wrestle on WrestleMania just because of a freak injury that happened to Rey Mysterio. So both Lucha Bros got to perform.
On top of that, the same day that out of nowhere, WWE acquired AAA.
Yes.
which
So,
blew my fucking mind.
yeah, it seems like they're trying to touch. Triple H seems to have an objective to just touch every part of wrestling.
Oh, they're buying
he
Noah
started
next.
the ID thing for the Indies, the relationship with TNA, now Triple A. It's like, man, dude, he's trying to have his hand in every part of wrestling, it seems like.
Oh, I'm predicting they're buying Noah.
Yeah, I was like, I was like, I was thinking that in my head too. I was like, they got to go after Japan next. And I was like, well, New Japan and AEW have a pretty solid relationship.
That in CMLL
so Noah
too.
does seem like the likely target.
Yeah, because Noah had a decent relationship with AAA.
Mm-hmm.
And CMLL is completely tied into New Japan and AEW. So it makes sense for them to go with Noah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I get that, yeah, the WWE was a global brand, but it really kind of adds something when you're legit being a global brand like that. Like, legit having WWE Mexico. And you know what I mean? And stuff like that with the AAA, the AAA shit.
Yeah.
And then some of the bigger Mexican
the world
stars.
champion may actually feel like a world champion.
Yeah.
Because you never know. You might be seeing him defend it against somebody from the WWE Mexico or somebody from here or somebody from here. It'll feel more like a world champion the more they add to the programming and the presentation.
And by doing it that way too, you can still keep them kind of separate, but also combined.
True.
AAA can still have their belts down there.
Yep.
But then also have matches on WWE pay-per-views. And all of those things. It's crazy. That blew my mind. I'm just sitting here and all of a sudden they're like, hey, WWE acquired AAA. I'm like, holy shit. Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Also, that does mean that Penta can actually go back to being called Pentagon Jr. now, too.
That is true.
Because AAA is the one that owned that trademark. The same with Phoenix. Yeah. He could go back to just Phoenix. Because that was the holdup with that, is just Phoenix is AAA. But yeah, that's crazy, dude. It blew my mind when I saw that. Plus, I love that too. I want people, especially the traditions you have down in Mexico and stuff like that. I don't know if people understand. There's a new La Parka. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
I watched that debut. That was really fantastic. And if anybody remembers La Parka from the WCW days, yes. I'm talking about that La Parka, but there's a new La Parka. Also looked great. Loved that costume too. There were some changes to it. Looked great. Looked fantastic.
But, cool. I'm going to have to check that out. I don't think I saw that. I knew about that, but I don't think I saw any clips or anything like that.
Because there was Son of La Parka and they had some other ones, but this is official, a new La Parka. La Parka retired. Or that whole thing, and it's a new La Parka. So that's fantastic. Outside of that, that's all the news I have right now. There's more news, but it ties into our movie. So I was going to save some of that for later. You guys want to get into that?
Sure.
Somebody will listen to me. Nobody knows anything but you. All right. Are you ready? Yes. Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Hey, Cinefans, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I'm Sterling, and as always, I'm joined by Heather and Jastin, and tonight we're going to talk about what we liked, didn't like, and everything in between with the new Ryan Coogler film, Sinners. We will go spoiler-free recommendations and scores, and then into a more spoiler-centric section with time codes in the description to allow you to jump around in both audio and video formats if you so require. With all that, I'm not going to go first, but I got a little story first. So, we were going to record an episode for Drop later than we typically do. It was going to be just Heather and I. And then we had a problem. Because at least, especially for me, I saw the movie Sinners before we were going to then record Drop. I'm not going to lie, it made me kind of forget the movie Drop. Which is funny because Drop's not a bad movie. Drop's pretty good.
It is good.
But Sinners made me forget what the fuck happened in Drop. It kind of consumed my movie brain. And I couldn't remember shit for the movie Drop. So unfortunately we don't have a Drop episode, guys, because I couldn't really comment on it because of Sinners, because of this film we're going to talk about.
It is good, though. It's recommended from me.
Yeah, I do.
That.
I would recommend it too, but man, it's real unfair when the movie you got after is Sinners. Not to spoil anything, but that's unfair. Because I remember I kind of liked it, and that's it. I can't tell you what I did like, what I didn't like. I can't remember any of that shit. Because I was really hoping, Jastin was going to be on that episode. Because I was like, all right, that means Jastin just saw it, so his memory will help re-jog my memory. And Jastin's like, hey guys, I'm not going to be able to be on it. Well, I was like, oh shit, I'll remember a damn thing. So that's our funny little story about our Drop episode.
Our weird way of recommending Drop.
Yeah, recommend it. Don't remember it, but I recommend it.
Okay. Well, I guess I chose the right one because I was like, man, I can only get to one. And I wasn't missing Sinners.
Yeah,
so
you chose correctly. Yeah.
I guess it's going to be Sinners.
Not to get too far ahead, but yeah, you chose right. I mean, in that vein, Jastin, go ahead. What you start us off? What's your spoiler-free thoughts about this here Sinners?
Wayo. This was one that I was really looking forward to. Just after seeing the previews and everything, it looked pretty interesting. It looked kind of fun. And I didn't see every trailer. But you know, every now and then with us watching so many movies, you would see the Sinners trailer. And, you know, it was just one of those, I was like, oh, I definitely want to watch this. Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan, which they are kind of becoming that director actor team, kind of like how, how like Johnny Depp and Burton used to team up all the time, or Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro or something like that. Like
DiCaprio.
Yeah, DiCaprio. Yeah, that they're kind of becoming that tag team that you just don't want to miss what they do. It's becoming like that because we got this, but you got Black Panther, which I think is one of the better comic book movies. Creed, like
Wakanda. I mean, also Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, Black Panther 2.
Go back to the original though, Fruitvale Station. They have not given us a bad movie.
They haven't. And you know, obviously, just given everything we've already said, this is not a bad movie either. This is not a good movie. This is a great fucking movie, guys. Like, this shit was tight.
Jastin, I knew exactly what you were doing too when you said that. When you're like, this isn't a good movie. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I knew what you were doing. I'm like, yeah.
We didn't even have to question where you were going with that.
Y'all already knew.
We're like, yeah, everything you're saying and what you're about to say, we know. We know.
Yeah, man, this is tight. Like, Um, I mean, just the casting was just so well done in this. Like, I loved everybody's role in this movie. Um, Especially like obviously the leads are good and we're going to spend a lot of time with them, but man, like, but I would even say just even people in the background, your background people who were just making all of these scenes and places we were look so lively and lived in. I mean, how did he manage to do that? Like,
It's one of those movies where like this is the definition of there's no small roles, small actors type of thing. Like it don't matter if you're a background person, you encapsulate that role, and that's what everyone did in this film. Everyone.
yeah, like there was a particular shot where characters are walking from one side of this town to the other, and just everything, the background, what people are doing, the I mean, I don't know, was that a set design or was that computer? I know this was done with a lot of practical effects. I know that much, but I'm not sure if this was constructed and they were filming in it, or if it was maybe a little bit of both, like some set with some computer. I'm not really sure, but it was just a fantastic shot of just stuff happening in this town. I mean, it was great. It was just great. Everything was so lively. Everything it felt like it just it didn't feel like a set. It felt like we were there in 1932.
Yeah.
You know.
It's probably one of the most lived in movies I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Like, and it's weird to start this movie with that, but just that's how much you notice things.
Well,
you can just tell when real care was taken for visuals like that.
I mean, not to give anything away or to take away from you, but like just based on what you just said right there, talking about like a small scene like early in the movie. I commented to someone after this movie where I was like, it's really kind of unfair at times with when the first minute and a half of a movie, you just know you're in for a good movie just because that introduction is engrossing, but the way it's shot, the way the characters are acting from the very get-go of the movie, you just know that you're like, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like you said, it's like, that's a very early scene in the movie, but it really just kind of encapsulates what this movie was with it. Like those details, that small detail, that shot was great and encapsulates every, like, it's like a through line for the most of this movie with how they did that stuff.
Yeah. And this was a shot for a minor character. I'm not even talking about this was an establishing shot or some sort of shot for character development of a major character. This was for a minor character. This was for just a minor character, but still, this was so effective about how it treated its characters, how it treated where we were, and how it treated the story. Michael B. Jordan, Michael B. Jordan has done a lot of good acting in his career. He is one of the better actors just alive right now. But dare I say, I think this is the best acting that he has ever done. Like, we've seen a lot of twin performances throughout, like, Hollywood. It's not like a person hasn't played twins before. But I will say that how he so seamlessly made these twins feel so different with his mannerisms, with his acting. I mean, Smoke and Stack are two completely different people. Like nothing he did with either character was the exact same. The way they react to things. Sometimes they are on screen reacting to the same thing at the same time, which means it was probably a trick done where he had to shoot this with both characters at different times, and then you put them together for a scene. But even scenes like that, it's amazing watching them both of his portrayals on screen, because it really just puts into perspective how different they were. Just every little thing, the way he was doing his hands, the way one of them smiles, the way one of them is kind of stoic, but the other one is a little more lively. He did such a fantastic job. Like, and I've never seen him perform quite like this.
I mean, he legitimately played two different characters.
Yeah.
It was 100% two different characters.
Yeah. And there was never a moment where I was like, oh, where there's the Michael B. I know. It wasn't even like that kind of shit. Like, it really did feel like two different characters.
At one point, you actually think they're twins.
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan just has a twin. Like, you literally think that at some point in this movie.
Yeah. It really was like that.
You're just sitting there going, man, where has Michael C. Jordan been this whole time?
Yeah, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You're just like, man, who is this other Mike? This must be another Michael Jordan. But like, he was great. He was great. And like, even though you could say, yes, he's the standout performer in this, but I also think that Miles, is it Caton or Catan? How do you say that?
I thought it was Caton, but I could be wrong.
Okay, we'll just go with Caton. If we're wrong, sorry. But Miles Caton, good old Sammy Moore in this. And I think this is this person's first movie. What? Like, what the fuck? This is his first movie?
Doesn't it kind of make you mad? You're like, where the fuck have you been, dick? Like, you get mad at him because you're like, I could have seen you in other movies before this. Where were you?
Yeah.
It is Caton, by the way.
It really felt like that. It was like, where have you been? Like, geez. I mean, he had such a presence. He was so great alongside Michael B., Haley Steinfeld. I mean, any of them. He was right there with them, just delivering a great performance. So
he was on their level. It was crazy.
Yeah, I was super, super impressed with him. And not to speak too long on my part, but I mean, you know, Haley Steinfeld, I love Haley Steinfeld. She's great in this. And she plays her character well too. Our agent from I feel like I'm gonna mess up her last name, but Wunmi Mosaku?
Yep. Wunmi.
Okay. Yeah, she's great too. I really enjoyed her. She was also great in this role, and so was Delroy Lindo. So I won't spend too much time. Man, Delroy Lindo was awesome in this.
Oh,
but
I
love Delroy Lindo.
Oh, you're preaching to the fucking choir on that. Oh my God, sign me up for just one of these Delroy Lindos any day. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, he's badass. And
he
was
misses.
Badass in this.
Even in a bad movie, he never misses.
Yeah, Delroy Lindo is just great and probably is very underrated, you know. Probably one of those actors that is, I don't know if he'll ever get his due, but he really should because he's freaking great. He's freaking great.
I mean, he's one of those
So I won't
actors.
spend too much time talking about all of them. I'll talk more in detail later, but they're great. And this story about the impact of music and also this story about like finding your own way and your individualism, finding your happiness, finding your culture, trying to connect. Like, there's so much shit in here that he balances so extremely well. Like, there are all these messages in here, and Coogler I think he just did the movie perfectly. The pacing I even thought was good. He took his time making sure you cared about every character. But when the movie jumps, and again, here's another movie jumping from first act to second act, and kind of it turns into a different movie. But even that is super effective. Like everything flows, everything was great. If I had one complaint about it, it's just I wanted to know more about certain characters, and I'll just explain myself. You know, there was a character or two where I was like, man, I just wanted to know a little bit more about what this character was talking about. But honestly, it's kind of nitpicky shit. It didn't make or break the movie. I just like this movie so much. I just wanted more.
And that's the thing with it. Is it you're not really going, it's a problem. It's just like you're going, it's so good, I want more.
Yeah. It's like, damn, I
Give
just
me a universe
wanted
of
more
this.
because the characters, the protagonist and the antagonist in this were appealing. They were compelling characters. So you just wanted more of them. And that's weird to say in a 2 hour and 17-minute movie, but man, it was all over. And then make sure you stay for the post-credit stuff, you know, the mid and the post-credit scenes, which even those scenes are meaningful scenes. And you almost, and this is kind of one of those, like some movies, it's like, okay, it has a mid-credit scene, but if you don't see it, you didn't miss anything. This is a must-watch mid-credit scene.
Oh,
Like you have to stay for it. Like if you miss it, I feel like you have missed an essential part of the film. So he didn't even fuck up on that. Anything extra he gave you, it's essential to the film. So yeah, I'll quit rambling on my part. Yeah, it was just, words can't express how great it is. Is it one of the best movies of the year? Yes. Is it one of the greatest vampire movies? Yes, it is. Is it one of the best black whatever? Whatever. Just give it all the flowers. It deserves them.
Since Jastin didn't bring it up, I'm going to ask you, Heather, to not either. There's this one penultimate scene in this movie that I think everybody kind of knows what I'm talking about when I'm saying that scene. Let's just all save that for spoilers, just so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Go.
That's all. What you got, Heather?
I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, that scene.
Oh yeah. You just say that scene and you know what you mean. Okay, so the problem with this movie is the fact that it's just so like it's so good, it's infuriating that it's as good as it is, because you're just like, you know, when you just love something so much that you're frustrated at how much you care about it. That's kind of what this is. Like every element of this movie, like every part of the story is so well done. There's not a single part like of the script or the storytelling or anything that is lacking or lazy. It's honestly like literally a damn near perfect movie. It really is. And I only have a few movies that I could like genuinely say that about. The performances all around are stellar. The horror elements, the dramatic elements, the character backgrounds, the cinematography, the music. It's just the way that you do cinema. Like at this point, that's really the best way you can describe it. It's just, it's one movie where it totally lived up to the hype. And considering that this was my most anticipated movie of the year, I'm so happy that it was as good, if not better, than I wanted it to be. Yeah, like, again, I'm going to a little bit reiterate some things that Jastin said, but Michael B. Jordan, it's definitely up there as some of his best work. Like, he's consistently great, even like when he was in Friday Night Lights, even in The Wire back in the day. Like, he's just always so good. But yeah, the way that he plays two completely different characters, and it's believable that he's two different people, it honestly adds to just how much you care about the individual characters that he is. You know, like you get to know them separately in this movie and not just as like the twins together. You know, it's just a really cool thing to be able to follow them how we do in this movie.
Oh, I mean, and to touch on what you just said, Heather, how many movies just go make the twins a character?
Yes.
The twins are a combined character. It might as well just say the twins in the script. Like,
Yeah.
And this is two characters. You could have
Yeah.
also not have them be twins and had Michael B. Jordan still play both of them, and it would have worked. Like, it works on that level.
Yeah, it really
that's
does.
a great point, Heather. Like, just to say a quick little thing about it, what you're talking about, that was a smart decision to let us really learn about both of them rather than what Sterling is saying. Oh, well, they're twins. The character is the twins. Y'all are absolutely right about that. What a smart decision and smart storytelling with that.
And we get 2 performances from Michael B. Jordan in one movie, so you can't really beat that. You know, Haley Steinfeld, I have loved her for a long time, and she was just such a great character too. Wunmi Mosaku, like, that woman has nothing but presence about her, like, all the time. Do you guys remember when we were talking about The Harder They Fall, and like all 3 of us at the same time said we would cast her as Zazie Beetz' character without like knowing what the other one was going to say? But it was just dead on. Everybody was like, we're on the same page. This is the only person you cast in that role.
But also, when we talked about her in Lovecraft Country,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
she was the standout person in that.
Oh, yeah. And like performances like what we get here, that's the reason why we could say that about her. She's spectacular all the time, and this is no exception. I love her. I love how she did this character. She was probably my favorite character in this movie. She just brings so much life to it, and essentially, like, she's a little bit the heart of it in a way, for at least for part of this film. Jack O'Connell, absolutely the most intriguing type of villain that you can have. He's just so good. Like, the way he played off of everybody else is excellent. Miles Caton, the fact that this is his first role is crazy impressive, and he's got the voice of an angel. That one, his voice is insane. It's insane. Delroy Lindo, always great as usual. I mean, you just, like we said, you can't find. He does no wrong. He just doesn't know wrong. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, name a character, and I guarantee you they were the most perfectly cast person in this movie.
Well,
that's just what it is.
I mean, we'll go like a slightly on the small side, but Cornbread, fantastic.
Excellent. Yes.
Yeah.
Stellar, just amazing.
Pearline, whatever her name was, Caton's crush. Excellent. Everybody, so great. Like, and one of the most impressive things about this film, which there's a lot of impressive things about this film, it's that it didn't stereotype a single character. You know, like, each was their own person, that they weren't just made to be the funny one. They're the spiritual one. You know, they're the protective one, or the rebel, or what have you. Like, these are all just fully fleshed out individuals, and you felt like you just got to really know them in this. And like, the writing of the characters transcended any stereotypical thing that you would think about a character. You can't categorize them in that way, because they're actually just too well written for that. And I love that. Like, what's another great thing too is that, like, this movie works on so many different levels. Like, it works as a psychological thriller. It works as like a vampire horror film, a coming of age story. It just works all around in any type of movie you want to make this. It just succeeds. And like, I don't know. I just feel like it does that thing where it blends genres in a way that other films don't do well. It's really hard to do it as well as this film does it, if that makes sense. And you also you feel the history of these characters between each other. You know, and like, that's something else that I really love about this movie. And it just, like we said at the beginning, like, it transports you into this place with the music, with the shots that it does, the vibe and the energy, the writing, everything about how Coogler did this film. you're literally in this world with them. You know, you don't feel like you're just watching a movie. You feel like you're just observing these people in their everyday lives. And it's just one of the most well-crafted films that I've seen. It's not, for me, it's not even only the best film of the year by a long shot. It's probably just one of the best films I've ever seen, if I'm being completely honest. At least that's how I feel right now. It's just that good. If you're like, I'm in the mood for like an action, I'm in the mood for a thriller, I want a horror movie, I want something that's kind of funny, I want something that just has great performances, ensemble, cast, anything that you really kind of want, it's going to be in this movie. And it just, there's no part that's weaker than another part. And that's just such a crazy, impressive thing to be able to do in a movie that packs in so many things. So yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic movie all around.
I mean, yeah, I could agree. It's definitely the best movie this year. It's not by leaps and bounds for me, though. Black Bag is still very high up for me. I really loved Black Bag.
That's fair.
A movie we didn't do on this podcast, but I got to see for as a sneak peek type of thing, and I know Heather got to see this too. My Dead Friend Zoe, Jastin, if you get a chance to watch it, it's an amazing movie. Amazing. Okay. Amazing.
That's number 2 for me, if I'm being honest.
That's my number 3. Black Bag is my number 2, hands down. But yeah, My Dead Friend Zoe. Everybody, excellent. Watch that movie. Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't even think it was very like well promoted. It wasn't very highly promoted, but man, like that movie is it's so good. It was just a really pleasant surprise. But yeah.
Yeah, and the only reason I bring that up is, yeah, this is still number 1 though. Like this is still there. This is it. This is like you guys, one of my more anticipated movies of the year. I still have 2 more that are very high up on my anticipation list. Mission Impossible, Ethan Hunt is Gonna Die is very much up on there. And I have a weird relationship with that movie because have you ever been more sure that Ethan Hunt's gonna die? Like, I think I'm more sure of that than anything. I'm more sure that Ethan Hunt's gonna die than my name is Sterling. Like, in all seriousness. But I still looking forward to that.
Yeah.
In Jurassic Park Rebirth, like I shouldn't be, based on the last one, I should not be excited about any Jurassic Park movies, but I am. It's Jurassic Park. And it looks like they learned their lesson. They're going, hey guys, we're going to give you some dinos. I'm like, okay, thank you. Thank you. That's all I needed. So tough. But yeah, this is one of them. And it's like, if these other movies are just, even get a fraction of it right compared to my anticipation level like this movie did, I'm in for a great year of watching movies. Holy shit.
It's just one of those movies you can like study in classes for years. Like it's just got so much to dissect.
It really is. It's up there for me with Jaws and Nope. With probably how the fuck you structure a movie. I think I disagree with you, Joe, though, Jastin, the second act transition. I think this movie weirdly does 3 interconnected acts that are essentially their own movie type of thing. Because you have the setup first act, you have the establishing second act, and by that I mean that's when you're in the juke joint. You're in it, and you're starting to get some of the vampire stuff, but that's when you're kind of like, what is going on vampire stuff. And then you get the vampire shit third act, and I think it even if it's not like in like distinctly different movies, where it's distinctly different acts that just seamlessly blend together, but function differently for how they're telling the story. That I think is just utterly fantastic. If you've been listening to us for a while and you heard our Queen and Slim episode, you know how I feel about blues music in this particular type of setting.
Didn't they do that in The Photograph as well?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Sexy, guys. Just sexy. Got no better way to describe it. Sexy. Oh, I love it. And you're giving me a Delroy Lindo while you do it? Oh, my God. It's almost like Ryan Coogler made this movie for me. And that's weird. Because I'm a white man. Yet Ryan Coogler made this movie for me. Oh, I loved it. I mean, but just to tie it up real quick, I mean, what can I really say that you guys haven't? Amazing performances, incredible shots, incredible storytelling. It's just this movie is every single thing you want from a movie. Everything. And I'm not going to say it's a flawless movie, but in turn, I can say it's a perfect movie. Because there's no weak anything in this movie. There's not a weak element in this film. Storytelling, check. Cinematography, check. Music, check. Performances, check. Everything is a check. It ticks every single box with no weakness. Like I said, I can't say it's flawless, but I can say, essentially, as far as art can be, or whatever, it's perfect. I mean, if you're just going on a sheerly mechanical level of making a film, this is how you do it. Just do this. I mean, this is one of those movies where you can sense and feel and see and acknowledge the influences of everything that influenced Ryan Coogler in this film. But he seamlessly integrates it so well that it's also original. There's a scene in this movie where you're like, oh, that's from The Thing. But it's still unique enough to be original in this movie. Just really an utterly fantastic time at the movies. Like this right here, well, it might not even be one of those grand cinematic spectacles. You're like, oh, I need to, see this and this type of thing because I need to feel the explosion. I need to see the grandioso nature of this fight scene or whatever. Like, this isn't that movie. It's not a grand spectacle. But this is the type of movie is why going to the movies is spectacular. Seeing this movie in a theater is a 100% reminder of why you should go watch these things in a fucking theater. Because while it might not be a cinematic spectacle, it is 100% a movie theater movie. And I'm 100% sure it will look and feel just utterly spectacular on my big screen television. But also see this in a fucking theater. Because that's what this is. This is those movies. This is the thing that Nicole Kidman talks about before every single movie I watch at an AMC theater. This is why we go to the theaters. Recommendations and scores?
Yeah.
Yep.
Recommendations and score.
What you got, Heather?
Yeah, like yes, it's a yes, 100% for every reason you could ever think of. It's a yes. Like the acting, the story, the way it's structured, like you said, like everything, the music, especially. I don't even want to say especially the music because it's especially everything. But there's something very special about the music in this movie. But it's Yeah, it's a yes across the board because there's just nothing weak about this movie in any regard. It's just such a good film. It's a masterpiece, honestly. Like, I don't even think I'm exaggerating. It's a masterpiece of a film. It just succeeds on every level. And so yeah, it's a yes for me, and I am giving this a strong 99 mojo bags out of 100.
What you got, Jastin?
Yeah, it's going to be a big recommend for me too. And I would argue maybe it's not a spectacle in the way that like Jurassic Park would be a spectacle.
And that's what
But-
I mean. That's what I mean. Like that blockbuster, like spectacle of a movie. Yes.
But I do think it's a spectacle still, though, for the eyes and the ears in other ways, especially like the music and how it like enhances every scene, and what he did with some of the camera shots, and how and even though it maybe the previews didn't advertise it as like, oh, it's this epic thing, definitely the way he shot this, the way that this movie looks, like it looks fantastic. It looks like a blockbuster type of film. It has that look to it. It has that, even though, yes, it's small scale as far as where we were, it all feels bigger than what it was. It feels bigger than what it is. The messages are bigger than just what's on the surface. Everything is bigger than what you're seeing or what people are going to say it is. Because yes, it's a vampire movie, but that would be drastically underselling it to just call it that. It is more than just that. It is more than just about music. It is more than just horror. It is more than all of those things. I think that there was enough going on here to where I could say, you know, that cliche or that saying that's become a cliche, see it on the biggest screen possible. I really enjoyed watching this. I really enjoyed the immersive experience of it that the theater offers, because I do believe that the message and the overall arc and narrative about music is super relatable. Everybody, I think, just about relates to music in some way. So I feel like being in a theater where you can really immerse yourself in the sound and the music of it all and kind of the story of it all does give you a better experience than, I mean, sure, I could enjoy this at home, but I think that this deserves me saying it's, you go and get that immersive experience of it all. And in a world where something like Minecraft has already made $700 and something million, it would be a shame, I think, for me to sit up here and undersell the need to spend money and go see this. Like, I think this is a must-see movie, and it deserves some of your dollars too. If Minecraft can get 700, why can't this at least get 200 or 300? I mean, this deserves your money too. As a matter of fact, I would say it's more deserving of your money because it is so well made and so well acted and so well crafted. You should be going to see this. Like, this should be a top priority to go see. So I just want to give it that the biggest recommendation in that way that I can.
Just really quick before you move on, like,
Yeah.
I just want to say, like, it is probably the first time in a long time where I was just so like invested in a movie. You know what I mean? Like, you're enthralled and you're captivated and you're in the world. Like, it's the first time in a while that I've actually felt like I'm not just sitting in a theater watching a movie. You know what I mean? Like, you're actually in that world.
Yeah. And let's change the definition of what it means to be a blockbuster. Because I think when you say that stuff, it comes with a certain expectation and kind of certain cliches and stuff like that. And even though I thought I knew what this plot was, it doesn't wind up exactly being what it looks like in the previews. because I had made some preconceived notions based on stereotypes and stuff like that. You know, you got a black director, you're seeing all of these black actors and actresses, and you're seeing what looks like a white person that is the monster or the vampire. I made some preconceived assumptions, and it is bigger than that. It's bigger than even just anything that it looked like on the surface. So I think this movie just deserves people's effort to spend money on it and go see it. And I just can't see what type of person wouldn't enjoy something like this. Even if you had a problem with something or thought there was a flaw in it, I just don't see how you don't at least walk out thinking that you had a good time and that it was money well spent. So if we're going to not spend it well on something like Minecraft, why not spend it well on something like this? So yeah, it's a recommend. 98. Pearline's looking back at you as they walk away out of 100.
Was that memorable for you?
Yeah, that look. Yeah, this is a very sexy movie. You said sexy. You were talking about the music. Nah, man, it's sexy all over.
Jastin, I was
It's all
talking
of
about,
it.
I was talking about all
the
of it, Jastin.
leads, the cast, the man. It was
Everything.
all of that.
It is.
It was all
yeah.
of that.
I mean, yeah, I was talking about the music, but I'm also talking about the way the music makes you feel.
Yeah.
And the way the characters make you feel.
The characters made me feel.
And the way the characters made me feel while they were listening to that music and the way they made themselves feel during that. Oh, it was fucking amazing. All of it, Jastin. All of it. Yes, watch this movie. I agree with you though, Jastin. That's a good point. We should change what we mean by a blockbuster. Because to me, this is kind of like the original blockbuster, Jaws. Like Jaws is considered the original blockbuster. And this is that type of movie. It's not 100% a horror movie. It's not 100% this. It's a mixing of everything. And, you know, and you're right. We've labeled blockbusters now. It's just superhero fare, big films. It's big budget. It's big this. It's big everything. Why can't it just be big good movies?
Exactly.
Like just be those big good movies. But yeah, I agree. I agree with you guys. Watch this movie. I've already pre-ordered it. I'm ready for it. It's amazing. It really is. It's if you've heard hype about this movie, yes, it's correct. They're not leading you astray. It's not false bravado. It's not just, you know, pumping up something. It's real. The hype, the hyperbole, the love, the adoration, the everything for this movie, it's deserved. 100%. Because I mean, this movie is that movie. It is. I'm right there with you guys. Score wise, I'm also going to give it a 98. I think that puts the CineScore at a 98. But it's really late. My math is getting difficult. That is a 98. CineScore, 98.
You didn't even give us a fun score. You must be tired.
At 98, go see this fucking movies out of 100. That better?
I'll accept this, yes.
Just 98 sexy ass juke joints. All right, spoilers?
Yep.
Spoilers.
All right, guys, that scene. Now, I'm sure, just mathematically speaking, statistically speaking, I'm sure this has happened to me at some point in my life. But This is the first time in a long time, or at least the first time from a time I can remember, where a scene in a movie legitimately gave me goosebumps, gave me chills, just utterly enthralled me so much that my body is physically reacting in awe to a scene in a movie. It is that scene. It is probably one of the single best scenes I have ever seen committed to film. And the journey this scene takes you on is just one for the ages. Because I'm not gonna lie, at first I was not there for it. So the scene starts, and what's his name? Sammy is singing his song, and you get the narration again. It's talking about how certain people with their music can transcend time, both forward and backwards. And I was forward with it when he was like channeling his ancestors, but then he like channeled like a Jimi Hendrix guitar player. And that split second when you get that, I was like, what is this? But just let the scene happen. Let the scene wash over you. Because if you are slightly uneasy with it at that point, trust me, that feeling goes away very quick. And it just starts panning around the juke joint. And you get more past and more future, back and forth. And then you get to the point to where there's a little part of the bar where the Chinese people are, and you get some of their ancestry added into it. And then it just kind of keeps going, and then you'll kind of just subtly hear some of the notes, but you'll see like somebody in the background, and you'll kind of just it's just these little things here and there, and it's going, and the juke joint starts like burning down. And where it's like they were talking about, like the opening narration and the narration in this, where they're piercing the veil between, reality and the supernatural and all those things. And the vampire, like, he's watching it happen because he's that element, and that's what's drawing him to it. And it's just one of those things, like, as that whole scene is just ebbing and flowing and just creating this visual and musical like tapestry of everything. Like I said, goosebumps, man. Just goosebumps. Like I said, I was just in awe. When that scene's done, you also could have just gone credits, and I was like, damn well made. Sign me up. Like that scene just like legitimately, like not even exaggerating. I can like say that scene did like fundamentally change me, because like it's so memorable. Like that is burned into my brain. And it ruins movies for you. Like I said, that scene alone is why I forgot 98% of the movie drop, which wasn't that bad. Pretty good. It was an okay movie. One scene makes me forget that fucking movie. That's what this movie does, specifically that scene. It is so powerful that, like I said earlier in this podcast, guys, let's hold on talking about that scene. And you both were able to go, copy that. No other explanation needed. Because it's that scene. And it is. And yet somehow, the Academy Award for Best Cinematic Moment is going to be the Flash touching shit before going back in time, which we all know was dumb anyway. But we also all know now, this is that scene, right? Like, this is that scene.
It better be.
This is, I mean, they're not going to do that category again for a while, but I'm just saying, like, this is that scene. This is This is the type of scene they wanted for that.
That wins that award. Yeah.
Because this
Yeah,
is that
sure.
scene. Like, this is it. Like, I mean, let's pack it up. Like, Netflix, quit making all your movies. Just stop it. We've reached peak cinema. I'm not saying no movies need to come out, but maybe some less. Can we just, like, because this scene happened, can we stop with all these other bullshit movies now? Can we stop with those? Because that scene nulls and voids all of them out. Truly. What about you guys? What are your thoughts on the scene?
You letting me go first? Okay. Just checking. Yeah. I mean, everything you said about it is pretty accurate, and they set that up really well with just the lore that they created about music in this world and how it has the power to do that. But what I loved about it is that, you know, when you first get in that narration at the beginning of the film, and it's talking about, you know, people have the ability to do this and transcend and the present and the future, but sometimes it attracts evil. So, you know, they set all that up in the narration. But I think what's so great about the scene is not what it does for the story of the film, but also just what it says about the magic and the impact of music in real life. And I think that was just the coolest thing about it. Like, yes, one could argue, like you said, when you see the kind of electric guitar player come into frame, initially it does feel out of place because all of a sudden there's this person who doesn't belong there, and it's this weird amalgamation. But that was only the beginning. And then going through and, like you said, seeing like Chinese dancers and people like that with their music, and then seeing hip hop dancers, and a guy with a turntable DJ was in there, and like it's going around showing all this stuff. And it really shows just kind of the connecting, not even so much like the connecting power of music, but because not everybody connects with every music, but it does show how music affects us all on a similar level. Just the ability that it has to impact us, whether it's to get us to move, whether it's to get us to reflect, whether it's to get us to think, how it represents our each of our cultures and our struggle. I love how he put that together to show like it was showing the very real power that music has. And that's such a relatable thing, no matter who you are, regardless of what kind of music you like, regardless of what you think is the best and what's the best era and this and that. You know, people can argue about that all day. But one thing that is undeniable is that music is impactful. It don't matter who you are. It don't matter how old you are. It don't matter what generation you come from or what music you prefer. It has impacted us all in some way, shape, or form. We all have favorite songs. We all have favorite music that we like. We all have music that speaks to us. We all have different music that is relative to our cultures that speaks to us in our struggles and our thought process in such a unique way. And in that way, it kind of connects us all. So I thought that was such a brilliant and powerful way to show that visually on screen. And on top of that, tying it into the movie and the fire in the ceiling, like what you talked about, Sterling, it piercing, and just that whole imagery of it coming out of the place we were in and transcending and piercing, and then seeing our vampire Jack, Remick, seeing Remick and how it was affecting him. But then that image that he was us seeing it through his eyes, where the whole building is burned down and we're not even in a building anymore, but everybody is dancing and grooving and to the music, and how he saw that in that moment, just like that imagery was so powerful, man. It was just such a great scene, and it is such a memorable scene. And yeah, I do believe, like what you said, it's one of those scenes that you will never forget. It's just one of those memorable scenes, like in cinema. You know, the whole, what is it, the Scorsese meme where he's like, you know, this is cinema. It really was one of those scenes.
Well, dude, to me, it's right up there with that scene in Jaws where Rory Schneider like looks back and Jaws pops out the water.
Yeah.
Like it's that. And I know I keep referencing Jaws, but like there really is a reason for that, people. Like
Yeah.
Jaws to me is up there with all-time great movies. And like I said, I think the reason why is because so much of this movie, like, it feels like Jaws to me. Not like Nope did, but just that type of movie.
It's one of those unforgettable scenes. And you can go throughout the history of cinema, and there are just those scenes that either have reoccurred so much, we see them all the time, they're spoofed a lot of the times, they're just memorable scenes, like you're talking about, that Jaws scene, and that first riff of that theme comes in before we see the shark or what's happening. You know, that's got to be one of those. I think about the Jurassic Park, the first movie, when they first see the dinosaurs and you get that ba-na-na-na.
I was about to say that.
That's one of those scenes. Or like Titanic, where, you know, she's at the end of the boat with he's at the end of the boat with his hands out or whatever. It's just one of those scenes. You may not like this one, Sterling, but I mean, Captain America by himself on the, you know, in front of Thanos' army.
Oh,
and then
on your left.
You hear Sam say on your left, and everybody fucking comes back. It's just going to be one of those scenes in cinema that you just won't forget. It's just going to be one of those. I think it's going to be one of those.
I mean, it's right up there with, what is it? Oh, why am I spacing on the name of the movie? But Here's Looking at You, Kid.
Yeah.
Casablanca.
Yes, thank you. I don't know. I kept wanting to say Maltese Falcon, and I just knew it wasn't right. But yeah, it's that. It's even Psycho in the shower. You know, like the shower scene in Psycho.
It's the shower scene.
Yeah, it's that. It really is. And what's more impactful about this scene than any of those other scenes is honestly this one's longer.
Yeah.
By a mile.
Yeah. It is.
We're talking about like little 5 to 30 second scenes. Like if we're going to the Jurassic Park scene, that's like the longest one of all of them. This is more than all of those.
Yeah.
This is several minutes of a scene building up. And essentially being fucking flawless when it's all said and done. Like that scene is just mesmerizing to a degree the whole time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think what is really one of the things that's so great about it is the fact that there are a lot of movies that we've seen here and just on our own where it's like nothing else about the movie stands out. And then there's just one scene where you're like, but you know what? That one scene worked. Or you know what? The build up to this action scene or whatever it is, right? This is not a scene where you're just like, this was the only good scene. This wasn't a scene where you're just like, oh, he definitely put all of his effort into just this one moment. This is a moment that enhances every other moment in the movie. And that's what I think makes it so great and so memorable. And it's also like, you know, the reason why, Sterling, it is that scene is because it's also so thought provoking. It's just one of those where, at least for me, like I'm just thinking about like all of the types of music that they're playing in this scene. And I'm thinking in my head about like just in a way, it is that connection of like, man, like, what is it that got me starting listening to this type of music? And what is it that influenced that type of music? Like, it's just one of those scenes where you're just in your own head thinking about like your relationship with music, at least for me. And that's the crazy thing about it. Like, that's what the scene does for you. And it's just powerful in that way too, because literally like you're kind of forgetting everything else going on in the movie or going on at all, even around you, because you're so like invested and captivated by this one scene. Like you're just glued to it and you're just like, it's just so, like you said, Sterling, mesmerizing, because you're just like, no, I don't care about anything that's happened before this or that's going to happen after this, because I'm just in this moment right now with how good this scene is. And that's kind of the magic of what he did with this scene.
Oh yeah. And also the thing I appreciated most about that scene too is it's also an encapsulation of the whole movie. It's like the whole movie inside the movie. Also, like it really kind of encapsulates everything within the movie too, you know. But like so it's like weirdly meta in that way. It's like the whole movie within a scene, but also is why the whole movie is necessary, because you want all of it. But also you get the thing that like it's just one of those things where like I'm not gonna lie, like that scene's one of the reasons why I was just so excited for us to record this episode, because I was like, I just want to be able to say that scene and everyone knows what I'm talking about. Like, it's just, that's so great. And I've loved on TikTok too, people just being like, man, that scene, guys. And you're like, yeah, I know exactly what scene you're talking about. That scene from Sinners. And I'm not gonna lie, and I can't wait to see it again. Like the whole movie. I can't wait to see the whole movie again, but I also just can't wait to experience that scene again. And, you know, one thing that was pointed out to me by Heather in a conversation I had with her made me really kind of sad. I'm never going to be able to experience that scene again for the first time. That's real fucked up to point out to somebody when they're living in the high of that scene still. And you just go, hey, by the way, just remember it's never going to be that good again.
Listen, I'm sorry, but my realization, I just needed to express my sadness of knowing that was the only time I would ever see it for the first time.
And she just had to contaminate me with that sadness. That's fucked up, people. Let people live in that moment. Why can't you let me get to my natural, like, decrescendo of that? You went, no, I'm going to put your happiness and joy to a real quick, swift end real quick.
The intrusive thoughts won. I'm very sorry.
Real fucked up, people. Real fucked up. If you've seen this and someone else has it, don't tell them that. After they see it, don't do that. Don't ruin it for them, people. Don't be a Heather. All rude and shit. I mean, yeah, outside of that, I mean, the one kind of complaint I have about this movie is this weird mixed bag of stuff, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier too, Jastin. I wanted more vampire stuff, but then at the same time, if you told me, look, Sterling, it's either more vampire shit or you just get the movie as is, like we'd have to take away from other parts of this movie to give you more vampire shit. I'd be like, never mind. Don't do that. But I just wanted more. Like, especially because of Delroy Lindo. Because I don't know if anybody remembers this, because how could you? Delroy Lindo was also casted in Blade, guys. The Mahershala Ali Blade.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So I was happy I at least got to see Delroy Lindo fight some vampires. Because I ain't getting that from Blade. Just saying. Also, like, come on, Marvel. Marvel. You just had this movie come out by one of your directors. Come on.
Get it together.
Get your fucking act together and just make a goddamn Blade movie. It's not that hard.
I think it would be funny, though, if Delroy Lindo was like, listen, Coogler, let me talk to you for a minute. Let me have my vampire moment because this is the only time I'm getting it.
Because he'd be like, I'll be dead before Blade comes out. We all will be. We all will be, Delroy. We all will be.
Right.
But also just come on, guys. What? How are you letting Mahershala Ali go be in a Jurassic Park movie? Delroy Lindo is going to go be in the new Ryan Coogler movie before we get a Blade. Come on, guys. It's not that hard. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Anyway. One of the things I want to bring up that to me was really great. Doing it the Jastin's favorite way of me doing this. There's a scene before the credits that's like the final scene of this movie that is semi out of place, but also really fun. And that's when a bunch of KKK people show up to try to kill them. And they just get mowed the fuck down by smoke. Like, does this movie actually need that scene? No, it doesn't. Am I so glad that scene's in this movie? Yes, I am.
When you were talking about the scene earlier, I was going to jokingly say, oh, you meant when the KKK got mowed down? And see
That would be
if
fair.
I could and act super enthusiastic about it and see if maybe I could get your white guilt to say that wasn't the best scene. That you agree? Because you'd be guilted into agreeing. Because if you said it wasn't, then I could be like, oh, so the KKK getting mowed down isn't the best scene of the movie?
Do you love white supremacy?
Are you sad the KKK was mowed down, Sterling?
Just laugh.
But no, it really is. Is that scene necessary? No, it's not. I'm 100% glad it's in this movie, though. It's fucking great. Because they just get mowed the fuck down. Just mowed down.
When he took out his friend Tommy, man, when he put that Tommy gun to their ass, dog. They got Tommied.
Oh, especially that last guy. That's just like, I'll give you your money back. Here's some cigarettes. And he just unloads on that man. It's just on the ground. It just unloads on him.
That's the great thing, though. Like, there's even scenes like that where you're like, do we need it? No, but we got it. Like, that's how you know it's a sign of a fantastic movie. Like, there's actually just no time wasted in this movie in any regard.
Yeah, because you could have had Smoke die for any number of reasons, just like a wound left over from fighting any of that stuff. But man, it's just great. It was almost Quentin Tarantino-esque with the way they handle the end of Inglourious Bastards when they just like maul down the Nazi theater.
Yeah.
It was that, but not comedically violent. It's a funny scene. Because it's funny because it's great. As weird as that may sound. I mean, I'm going to go on a limb here, guys. I am anti-KKK. And especially in the 1930s South, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of okay with them just getting murdered. Because I wouldn't even call that murder. I call that self-defense.
Yeah.
That's that castle doctrine. That's just stand your ground.
Mm-hmm.
But it's great because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot about all that. And then they just pull up and he's just like trunk, sniper rifle. And they are all just dying. And they also look so dumb while they're doing it too, because they can't hit shit. There's like 27 of him, and he's standing in just in the middle of everything, just wide open. Shoot this man, and they just can't hit him because they're all dumb. It's fantastic. Oh, just loved that scene. I really wish you had done that to me, Jastin. That would have been great. Oh,
It's close.
anyway, Heather, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I really wanted to just express my sadness about in this movie, not that it made the movie bad, but just character choices. Grace. Sweet little Grace, when she's just like, you know what? I'm so terrified and I'm so mad. I'm going to just yell at all of them to come on in. I was so mad. I was so upset that she did that. Like, my frustration, it was visible. I was just like, hands in the air, like, what are you doing? Kind of thing. I was upset. I understand that she probably had, like, obviously her own reasons and everything like that. But I'm just like, this is somebody that, at least in my opinion for that, felt like she just was not thinking of the consequences of anything she was doing, because she was sad and grieving the fact that her husband was already gone and worried about her daughter being next and all these things. But then she went ahead and made her daughter an orphan anyway, in a sense, you know what I mean? Like, cause she died real quickly after they came in. And while I do love the fact that all of them were obviously like, this woman just got us all in a world of trouble, I do like that they didn't dwell on that. And they were more just like, all right, well, this is happening. Let's all stand our ground. That was a great scene when they all are just getting prepared for them to be coming in. That was great.
Now,
I love that.
Not to be nitpicky, but why didn't any of them try just going, never mind, you're not invited in?
That's a good point.
Just
You'd be
try.
like, just kidding.
Just try.
We
like,
actually
never
don't
mind.
like this.
We rescind your invite. You are not allowed in. We changed our minds. Why didn't anybody try that?
Right. Like, what are the rules on that? Does that work? Like, you know, cause yeah, it just, anyways, I was very upset at her for that, because I'm like, you're putting everybody here at risk, and there are not that many of you left. And then the fact that, like, you're very worried about your daughter, but in turn, your concern about her is what's actually getting you killed. And as far as I know, like, they didn't show that the daughter died, so I'm assuming she was alive. I don't know. They're not real clear on that at the end. But either way, the child's an orphan now if she's alive, because she got herself killed by being like, come on in, we're gonna get you, or whatever she was doing. It was just not a good call. I know you have to sometimes have that, like, you got to have the fallout come at some point, and this is how we got there. But I just was so upset that she, like, was that person that did that. Like, I was really rooting for her to not be that person, because, like, you could see the elements of how it was going to be her, like, it alluded to it, like, with how she was, like, acting when she found out that obviously her husband was already turned and all this stuff. I just didn't want it to be her. I wanted her to, like, restrain herself and, like, be smarter than that, but also emotion took over. It is what it is. It's going to happen. So just upset that was a thing.
Well, we can get into it later. We don't have to right now, but there is actually kind of a historical and thematic element as to why that happened. We can get into it later. We don't have to right this second.
Okay.
Because it might be slightly lengthy in the middle of you doing this.
Gotcha.
So you can keep going.
Yeah. I mean, and I would be interested to know that, because that's just me also seeing a ton of other movies where there's that character, right? So this movie, everything this movie does is very intentional. So I don't doubt that there's definitely other reasons, but on the surface level, I was like, no, why would you do it? Other than that, I really did like her character, Also, like, I also liked the fact that even though like even from trailers that like Haley Steinfeld's character turns, I do like the way that they build the relationship with her and Stack beforehand, because you know the stakes, you know that's going to be a little bit higher going into the situation, and I like that you don't really know also that like Smoke and Annie are actually a thing, and that they're actually a little bit more of a prominent like love story in this, and I really liked their story too. And it's interesting. Like I saw an article where someone was talking about this movie and they were saying like, that this is a horror noir, which I like that phrasing of it. And they said Coogler doesn't give you heroes. He gives you survivors. And when you think about that and like you think about what Smoke and Annie went through, like just the state of the South at the time, and also with losing their kid and all these things, like that's probably the most poetic way that I've ever heard something like that put. And I just really liked that. And that made me kind of take in more of these characters when I heard it put that way. Because yeah, like so many of these people are like survivors of something, you know, and even like, Mary, Haley Steinfeld's character, like, you know, surviving or dealing with the grief of her mother dying and just all these things. Like that's just a very profound take on these characters, and I really liked it. But yeah, it just kind of adds this element into even these love stories and these backstories of these people, where they're not just what they seem up front when, you know, they're like, oh yeah, these twins were working with Al Capone and all this stuff. It's like, no, they're actually individual people that have really tragic backstories that make you care about them more as people. And I just can't express enough how much I love the emphasis that Coogler put on each character and how they're written. They're all so fleshed out, and I just really love that. And yeah, definitely moments when there's more characters you want to know more about. But I mean, you get invested so quickly in these characters because you see that there's just more than meets the eye really, really quickly in. And I also didn't really expect the focal point in a way to be Sammy, which I think was really cool. And that played out really well. Even at the end, you know, when we see him older, not really present day, but more present day when he's just older, and just how that came full circle at the end there, where we open with him and then we kind of end with him and what's gone on with his life as pretty much, I guess, the sole survivor really of what happens there. So I love how they brought everything around with that too. And just his experience and how in like a day's time, everything about him changed from who he was before he left to when he came back the next day. And then just seeing down the line too, it was interesting too, seeing at the end there with Stack and Mary, how they're, you know, still alive, and just sort of the dynamic that Sammy has with them, because we find out that the reason that Stack is still alive is because Smoke couldn't kill him, and he made him promise to not do anything to Sammy, which I guess that means Mary also wouldn't. So it's interesting when they have like that, I guess that pact that they made, that you see them still just sort of being around each other as family. You know, like Sammy's just sitting there with Stack and sitting there with Mary and just playing music to them. And like, there's this mutual thing between them, because no matter what happened, like you realize, well, obviously they didn't really get a choice in what happened to them. And so at the end of the day, you know, I loved you as people before you turned into what you turned into. And I think that was just kind of a really cool kind of like way to put a little bookend on this story that we're seeing of people going through grief and people going through change and like learning about themselves through this movie. I think that was just kind of a really cool thing to put in there.
Well, on top of that too, that conversation they're having at the end, when they're like, yeah, before the vampire shit, that was probably actually the greatest day of my life.
Yeah. They all felt alive. They all felt like this freedom to just be who they wanted to be. Even Mary, who was just very much like, so many people considered her like an outcast of the rest of them because she wasn't really fully Black, but she was just like, I just want to be myself here. And, all these things is just like, and that's the reason that this movie is a must see more than anything else, is just the importance of these stories that you hear, like the importance of understanding like what these characters are going through is such a huge part of why this movie works the way it does. And like, it just was also cool too, like thinking about even when they're undead and they lose people, like because they still have the memories and because they are still those people at their core, they're still grieving when a human dies that they know. Like I think about the scene where Mary gets so upset when Annie gets killed because she doesn't turn, because she wants her to like, oh yeah, you have this freedom with us but no, she's killed. And like just the grief that Mary was feeling when that happened, I just think that was a really interesting element to put into this as well. Because it's just so layered. Even the vampire characters are so layered. They're not one note. There's so much more to them even too. And yeah, like, cause they still have these memories of these people, and they have the memories of these relationships that they had with them. And so they're still grieving this loss as if they are still human, because they're still who they are at their core. Yeah. And I think that like something also really cool is very subtle things that they do in this film are so excellent. Like I think about the scene where they're doing the Irish song. The vampires are singing that Irish song outside, and they're doing like the big dance number with it and all this stuff. And you think about like Stack and Mary, and just they are just completely enthralled, and like they're having fun, and like just the sense that they have at that moment of being free, because when they're turned, they're considering themselves free. And the complete change in character that they are once they are the vampires, and just seeing how they just fit right in with singing that song with them and dancing along and being these just like kind of like wild, free people. It was just very subtle, because they're in the background. They're not even the forefront of this scene, and they're just in the background blending in so well with everybody else. And they just do that kind of, I think we alluded to that earlier too, where it's like no character is not important. Even background characters or side characters, everybody in this film is important for some reason or another. And that's such an awesome thing. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those movies where you can watch it probably so many times and find something different that you didn't notice before, of just how well he put this movie together, or something about the elements of the story that you're like, oh, this theme is something that was important in this that I didn't pick up the first time around. And I think that is what is so brilliant about this film, is because it keeps you thinking, it keeps you just kind of doing something other than just saying, yeah, that was a good movie and that's it. This movie makes you think about it so long after, which is probably why, like Sterling said, Drop is a great movie. There's a lot of great movies out there, but I have not stopped thinking about this movie since I've seen it. That's just what the effect that this movie has on you. So,
Jastin, what you got?
Yeah, all good stuff there with what everybody is saying. And I think that just when I'm looking at just the structure that this movie took, one thing that was clear was Coogler wanted you to care about these characters from the outset. He didn't rush to do the vampire stuff. And I like how he kind of set this up where you could almost argue that the first act of the movie is just like a period piece drama. Like there wasn't any conflict or anything that had to do with vampires or anything like that happening initially. We were just meeting characters. We've got this thing we want to do. We want to have this. We got this building. We want to make this juke joint. So let's gather all of these pieces and all these people that we know that would be good for this, that we're close to, that are our friends, that are people we have good relationships with, that would be good for this juke joint. And using that as a way to not only split the brothers apart so that we could kind of learn more about them as individuals, but also to build and develop these other characters, and for us to see our Smoke and Stack's relationships with these different characters. That was a great way to introduce everyone. And they weren't having these exposit dump conversations. You could tell that these people knew each other by what they said. And even though they were kind of catching up with each other, the dialogue was so well written to where you're getting things revealed about the brothers, but they're not saying so much that they're expositing everything, but just enough to where you understand, okay, these two characters know each other, and we're getting a little bit about their life and what happened to them. Like when he was talking to the Chinese, like when Stack was talking to the Chinese husband, and he went, "Oh, so I heard you guys got rich over there. Like you hit a couple of times, like you hit it big at the casinos a couple of times." And then Stack was like, "Yeah, we hit, but not like how you think." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And then it was interrupted, but that was enough. Now we understand a little bit more about, okay, so somehow they came onto this money by possibly nefarious means. And then later another character says, "Y'all were working for Capone." Okay, so now we got that part of that piece of the story. So now we kind of know that. Like, I loved how they revealed those expositional things to you in very organic ways. And the movie was just great at doing that. It did that constantly. But it was fun to just develop these characters and see their relationships with everyone. So I thought that was cool. And then on top of that, you're learning about the differences between Stack and Smoke, and how Stack was with everyone, and how he talked to people, and his way of persuading and convincing people, and how different he was from Smoke. I mean, all of it was so great. So you're not just listening to characters talk. It's not just your very typical, very just kind of underwhelming way that we often develop characters in movies. I just thought it was just so masterfully done the way that it was doing that. And a lot of those scenes are effective and memorable too. You were going to say something, Sterling?
Yeah, I want to tie into that real quick, because there's a way to do this narratively speaking that Ryan Coogler does so well that a lot of movies fail at. So Sammy's their cousin, right? And you want to introduce some backstory about the Smokehouse twins and the story of how their father died. How do you introduce it? You have the cousin go, "Hey, you told me when I was older you'd tell me what happened." So you get the conversation. And it's not just "Oh, tell me what happened." Like, it's not just "Oh, let's exposit," or "Oh, let's shoehorn this story in." It's a very real reason to tell that story. Because, hey, we haven't seen each other in a while. You told me when I was older you'd tell me. I'm older. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's a way to naturally bring in exposition and backstory without shoehorning it and forcing it in. It feels natural. It felt like two cousins talking. They hadn't seen each other in a minute. And one now being older, being an adult, being like, trying to like now find their way in the world. Trying to find out what, like, so of course he's going to be more curious about things. He's now an adult and he's heard all these stories about his cousins, and he knows his cousins, but he's also heard all the stories.
Yeah.
It's the let's find out fact or fiction type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and also to that same point, like you think about how Mary's introduced into it, where she's at the train station, like that could have been a very easily horribly done scene where she just kind of says like, "Oh, cool, you gave me the best sex ever and then never heard from you again," like, or whatever it was she said. Like, It's just between them, a very natural conversation that makes a lot of sense that we're just kind of listening in on. Yeah.
Oh, that's not what she said, Heather.
It's not, but the gist.
But yeah, it's a more natural way to bring stuff in, but also that leans into the whole fact of one of the things we mentioned earlier, a lived-in world.
Exactly. These people not only knew who they were, they knew they had left, they had been gone a long time. So they wanted to catch up with them, but they're asking specific things. And even with those expositional things, I love that Stack was the one telling him that story about their father. And I think a big part of that is that was the part of Stack's past that really affected him. And that was like his trauma. That was that thing in the past. That's why, and like you put all these things together and you're putting all the different pieces of the narrative together. And now it's making sense. This is why he really wanted to get away. This is why he was like was really the one trying to convince his brother to leave, after that had happened. And his brother was kind of, and he's telling that story to his cousin, like, and at some point you get that part about the brother being hesitant, but eventually them going, or the brother just wanted to go. That's what it was. He said the Smoke just wanted to go like not too far away. He wanted to go to like just the next town over or something like that. But it was Stack who was like, no, let's go all the way to Chicago. But hearing that story now, they didn't have to tell you this, but now it's dawning on you why he wanted to get further away. And then when you get to Smoke's part with Mary and finding out that they were together and had this kid and the child died and all of that kind of stuff. Well, now you go back to that and it's like, okay, that's why he didn't want to go as far away. She was still here. And see, that's brilliant. That's a very good writer, man. And that is a very well thought out character.
But also, it's just a great way of using a narrative device of, hey, we've been gone for a while. Let's catch up.
Exactly. But look at everything that you could infer, not just everything that was given to you, but the fact that what was given to you was so meaningful that you can infer all these other things about those two characters and their relationship. So you understand why Stack wanted to be further because of all the abuse and everything like that. I mean, he was knocked out when the dad was killed and came to because he had got beat so bad. So him wanting to be not near any of that is you understand it. The brother wanting to be closer, but then eventually they go. They do what they do in Chicago, but then both of them come back, now trying to establish something for themselves. So still coming back home, trying to make something better of it, trying to establish something for themselves. So all of that you get in between the exposition that you get, but these are implied things from the exposition. All of that makes those two characters fascinating, but it makes this world lived in, and it makes you just appreciate how they were written so much.
And sorry, really quick to that too. There's also such a great way that he ties in, just like the father relationship, as far as when they pick up Sammy and they're just like, your dad's treating you okay, right? Like you just feel like there's that history of like, why else would he ask that question in that way? And even just the sense of, with Smoke not wanting to be far away because of his child being there, even though they're not alive. And just the subtle things too of like, give me these flowers so that, I can also take that with me, like from the store, like throwing those flowers and we got a deal. And then you don't hear anything else about it. You just see him. Obviously, the reason he has those flowers is he wants to bring it to his kid because he's there like for his kid, or he's there and he wants to see his kid. And just seeing how all of these things that they're doing as fathers or as relatives is because of just how they were treated with their own father.
Great point. And see, I totally missed that, Heather. I missed that when Sammy first gets into the car. But that's a great, man, this movie would be great to do a live watch along and just talk about what characters are saying and doing. But that was a great catch. That's exactly why they were asking those questions about how the father was treating him. And does he put his hands on you? And he was like, no, it's mainly mom that does. And he was like, oh, and they were like, okay. All of it makes sense.
Even right down to whenever he's like, yeah, but it's just kind of whenever they get out of line. Like, it's not like a just abusive person.
Yeah.
It trying to show the separation of like discipline and just abuse. And, and I get that nowadays we consider those more interconnected, but like back then, that's a wild difference. Like,
exactly.
And when he's like, yeah, when they get out of line, but it's not anything crazy. And he's like, good. Cause that's, their dad's brother.
They would have taken care of business right there if they needed to. So there's that aspect of it, but it's like, just to make sure that it's like, all right, our dad was just the fucked up one. Now your dad too.
Yeah. Yeah. So both of those brothers definitely had sort of this, the sins of the father relationship affected them both, but it affected them in some very unique ways, which is cool. Like, it's cool to see those differences in both their personalities and everything like that. So all of that stuff was fun, man. All that stuff we were doing at the beginning. We weren't doing any vampire stuff yet, but all of this was so intriguing. And then meeting Grace and her husband and everything like that. And I talked a little bit about that scene where you see Grace walking around. Well, first it was her daughter, but then it was her walking around the town, and you seeing all this stuff is just happening. It's so lively. That was just such a great shot. And even though Grace is a minor character, even though this is a character that eventually does die, she doesn't survive in this situation. But that was still cool. That was still great that we got to see them in that habitat. We got to see her and her daughter and everything like that, to understand how close-knit of a family this is. Like, when she left, and then you saw that they had stores on both sides of the town. So these are people that are they're like well intertwined in this town. And when the mother left one side of the store, the daughter stayed there and was behind the counter looking after the store. So all of these are just little visual things that you're seeing, but you understand like how tight-knit they are, how close of a family they are. They're one of those hustling families that are here in town just making it work. But they know everybody, they interact with everybody, everything like that. So even that was cool. Just good character development that you didn't need anything verbally to be said. That's just stuff the actors are doing and the film is showing you and doing really well. So you get all of those scenes, and all of those scenes are really good. Smoke and Mary, that was very interesting too. And like, you just feel like nothing was wasted. That little mojo bag that they kept talking about, that
you
comes
mean Annie?
into play.
I'm sorry, Smoke and Annie, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I said my bad. Did I say Stack? I
You
said
just-
Stack
you
and
said
Mary.
Mary,
My
but-
bad. Wrong
yeah.
couple. Smoke and Mary. Yes, you were right. Smoke and Mary. My bad.
It's the problem when you're talking about twins, man.
Yep, it is. It
And
is that-
having female names that are very Annie, Mary, like they're very similar.
yeah, they're just kind of so like those typical names, but but yeah, those two. The mojo bag and everything, that was interesting too. How that all came into play and everything like that. So I even like things like that, like how that came back, and she had that, and she was like, well, how do you know that me praying for you and wanting you to survive that and go and come back and everything like that, how do you know that that didn't have a part to play in you surviving? How do you know it wasn't just, the love I had for you and the want and just that wanting for you to make it? How do you know that that had nothing to do with it? And I like how they have the back and forth of that. But what was cool was when his brother attacked him, there's a part where he sort of hesitates to bite him. And that mojo bag was there. It caught that hesitation. And he was able to kind of reverse him, turn him around. And then, of course, we find out about the bargain that they make, where he doesn't kill Stack in that moment. But even that comes back. Like, they were just doing a lot of cool stuff, man, with the storytelling and the world building that they did. And what was cool was when it goes from first act to second act, the movie completely changes. But I love that transition of we're seeing all this period piece drama, character development, all of that happens. And when the second act starts, our vampire drops into the frame. Like, it's just like he drops into the frame and his back is melting because the sun is up but on its way down. So I guess he barely escaped these Native Americans that had captured him. So I love that transition. Like when we first see Remick, he hits the floor and it's almost like shit is about to hit the fan. Like that was such a drastic change of tone, but it was perfect where Coogler had it. Just perfect.
Oh yeah. And doesn't it kind of make you wish too that like you get some sort of spinoff where you get to watch like the indigenous vampire hunters? Like,
yeah,
you want to see like a mini series of that?
Yeah,
there's so many spinoffs I need from
cool.
this.
They look pretty legit,
Oh yeah, I want to see that. We'll get that before Blade. So
yeah, and with the Remick character, he was interesting, man. The way that they did this vampire character, that they combined some things, but he just played around with the rules a little bit and kind of made this an interesting vampire on this journey. Like this whole thing about him needing this connection, and he has been living so long and he lost his ancestors and stuff like that. And the music was a vehicle for him to be able to connect back with them in some way. So that was interesting. Just that was a great
motivation.
Yeah, just kind of like that tragic, but at the same time, kind of story of him, a person who is living all this time, but wanting to connect, missing that connection in some sort of way. The rule about having to be invited in was interesting too. Like, if you're outside, in the night, we can just straight up attack you. But if you're inside of a building or something like that, I have to be invited in. I have to be let in, So I thought that was interesting. That sort of rule that you have to be invited.
This is probably my favorite use of that rule when it comes to vampires since Let the Right One In.
Yeah. Which I kept thinking about.
If you haven't seen Let the Right One In,
yeah,
you done fucked up. Because especially the way they do that, like, the way they do that rule in that movie, the way they do it in this, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I love how it becomes like that litmus test too. Once they kind of figure out what the deal is, and they're just like, why don't you just come in? Like, because I'm trying to be polite.
Yeah.
No.
Because they're still very much their personality, where you feel like, I mean, that sounds like something Cornbread would say, but he was coming in and out the whole, like, it's just so well done, because you're like, outside of that, he's being completely like he normally is, you know?
Yeah. You didn't need a person that knew everything about vampires to go, well, they like to be let in, you know? And like Annie could have almost been that character, but Kugler didn't do that though. She just had heard a few stories and knew a little bit, but she had never encountered them and had only heard some things.
And I like that all the things that she said were weaknesses weren't actually used.
Yeah.
She's like garlic, sunlight, silver, holy water. There's no holy water in this movie. So I like the fact that it's just like you said, Jeff, I've heard shit. Don't know what does or doesn't work. And it turns out also holy water doesn't work, because he's able to sit there and say the Lord's Prayer. If holy water would work, why would he be able to sit there and say the Lord's Prayer?
True.
Yeah.
Good
And
point.
the point you make about the litmus test is good too, because like the fact that like she threw that garlic powder on him or whatever, and it worked, and then she's like, all right, so we're going to use this to make sure the rest of us are good.
Yeah,
like, that was smart.
The garlic brine from the pickled garlic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she kept using the term hate. Like, this is not a hate. This is a vampire. I'm assuming hate is a demon?
More or less.
Okay.
Like just an evil entity.
Yeah. Like, that's what I was thinking, is that's what that meant. So that was interesting too. Like, she was like, oh, this is a hate, this is not a hate. This is a vampire. But the interesting thing too about our vampire was, because initially, and this is what I meant by earlier, like when I saw the previews and sort of had my own stereotypes in my head, because I really thought this was going to be the racist white vampires against the black people kind of cornered in this situation. And it was not that at all. As a matter of fact, Remick despised the racist white people. He saw them as terrible and just wanted to kill them and everything like that. That wasn't his aim at all. That wasn't the point of him being who he was at all.
And there's more to that too that ties into what we'll talk about later too.
Okay. But what I thought was cool about it was that it just wasn't what I was expecting. That Remick character was surprising in a lot of ways. And then I also like they played real heavy on the psychic mental connection that he kind of has with everybody that he bites. That was cool here. Like, you see it in different vampire things, but it felt like Cougar went super heavy on, no, he can read their thoughts and knows everything they know and can, and when he feels pain, they do. I mean, it was a crazy different, like, super connection in this.
Oh, I also love the fact that because he knew Mandarin, because he had transformed somebody that was Chinese.
Yeah.
So he just knows Mandarin.
That's tight. Like, that was super cool.
But it's also it's also vice versa too, because they all know it too. And so it's like, and it's what like Heather talked about when like they're doing that dance scene. Everybody just knows the dance. Everybody knows the song because they're a part of him.
Yeah.
And also too, like that scene when they first show up at the juke joint and they're singing that little song and doing the little movements together, and it's all in sync just because they're a hive mind. Like, it's just automatic.
Yeah.
That was a really fun scene.
So, and it was really cool. Just like, so when I said, just to talk really quickly about this, what I meant by I wanted more, he was the person I was talking about when it comes to Remick. That was the only thing where I was like, man, I just wanted more. I understood what his motivation was. He wants to connect. He wants to try to connect with these people, these ancestors, and these people that he's lost. But like, but how so? Like, what does that, to what extent could he connect through the music? Like, how, like, what kind of connectivity are we talking about? You know, to what extent can he, could he use the music to be able to like visually see people in front of him in that sort of way? Or was it just like he could use the music and then spiritually communicate in some sort of way with those people? Would the music bring those people to him? Would he be able to travel and go to these people? Like, I wonder to what extent he could connect with these other vampires, or why he felt like with these musical talents, he could, what exactly does a connection look like? I get that he wanted to connect, but what does a connection look like?
Well, I think
to him?
He would have at least been able to see it because he, based on the film, could see the piercing the veil. Like, he saw the building burn down. They didn't.
Okay.
You know, not even Sammy saw that.
True.
So I'm thinking he saw the piercing the veil. He saw the ancestors. He saw the future. He saw all that. And by being able to turn Sammy, he'd be able to do that, or at least have Sammy do that.
Yeah.
And he'd be able to see those people again.
Okay.
At
So
least.
maybe he could visually see them. He actually could. They could be there. And then it's like, well, if they do appear, do you get to talk to them, or y'all just going to be dancing?
I don't think he cares.
Yeah, probably doesn't, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably doesn't. And then, and all of that. But like I said, like, this is kind of nitpicky stuff. Do I need those extra details? Not necessarily. It's not like those details stopped me from enjoying this or anything. And then also just what happened? How did he get captured by these Native Americans? Where was he prior to that happening? Where was he going? Like, how did he wind up here? I know this was happenstance, but where did they get him from?
There is some hints to some of that stuff. It's either, like, weirdly enough, like the Spotify playlist of the music of this or whatever, but there's like a newspaper thing that actually talks about a ship that made it to America that was just decimated and bloody everywhere. And it's like more or less him coming to America 20 years before that.
Okay.
And stuff like that. There are hints to it through either related content or within the movie.
That's cool.
That's cool. Kind of a nod to Nosferatu a little bit with that. But that was really it. I just wanted to know more about him, and just, more about like just him in general. But still, despite not having those little details here and there, he was a really good character. I liked him, man. I liked him. And just what he talked about. And even like that ending scene with him and Sammy in the water, where he was talking about when he started saying the Lord's Prayer, and then he said that he knew it. And he said, well, somebody tried to like force this upon me too. And
well,
like,
that's a hint to how old he is.
Yes.
Because he's talking about the Christians coming to Ireland and taking it over. So he is essentially pre-Christian Irish, which is a long fucking time.
A long time. But it was just something about that and him. But you understand though why he wouldn't immediately kill him, why he wanted to say that and talk to him. And for this character longing a connection, it was almost like he felt like when he bit people that he was connecting them all. Look, I'm doing something better. You can, while these, you're fighting against this racism, and look, Sammy, your father wants you to stop playing music, even though that's your passion and everything like that. Everyone's trying to stop you. But if you just take this bite, you'd be unstoppable. You'd be able to live your life and do what you want to do. And don't you want that? Don't you? And even though he had his ulterior motives, like when these other vampires and people who have been bitten are talking to these people who haven't been bitten yet, they're making some convincing arguments. Like they're making some what sound initially like convincing arguments. You know, maybe I should take this deal. Like, could I see some people back then in the South going, maybe this is better than actually living in the daytime with all the dangers of the day, so to speak. So it was interesting how they positioned him and his vampirism and what he was doing. And this whole argument about like, could life be better on this other side? So I liked all of that. I just love how he did this.
Yeah, this was one of my favorite like versions of vampires in this movie. Like it was just so well done. And like a little bit off of what we were talking about too, his connection to music and like the reason that he was so interested in Sammy specifically, I think is really cool, because you think about Sammy and just also his deep connection with music and how in a way they're alike because of that. And again, that strand of music can bond and connect so many different types of people. And just the fact that at the end too, when we see him going back home to his father who's preaching a sermon, and he's just like, just put this guitar down and come back home. And because he kept saying like, oh, or whoever it was that was saying the devil is going to come for you and you're going to bring the devil to us and all these things. And I love the fact that Sammy, by the end of this whole journey, isn't just like, you're right. Everything I experienced has told me the devil came for me and you're right. Instead, he took it and said, no, like this thing that I experienced is so powerful. Like I just have to keep doing it. I just think that was kind of a cool, like sort of like side little journey that Sammy had in this.
No, that's good stuff. And that was the last thing I wanted to talk about was Sammy. I love that character's journey. Just everything about it. How it started with this, him and his father, and his father telling him, why do you do that? Why do you go and play music and do all of that and everything like that? And he seems like a pretty good kid, but this is his passion, is music and everything like that. And I like how throughout the narrative, people are giving him their perspective of what he ought to be doing. Like, I like that conversation that he had with Smoke, and Smoke is telling him, you don't need to go there to Chicago. You don't need to leave and do that. You need to, why can't you just, I get you like music and you like singing and stuff. Why can't you do church music? Why can't you just be here with your father and do all of that stuff? And sort of trying to tell him, no, this is not right. You need to do what I'm telling you to do. And all, he had a hard conversation with him. The whole thing with the vampire, with Remick telling him what he should do and how he should be bitten, and this is the life you want and things like that, and you'll be able to live your dream and everything like that. So I like how he's being pulled in all these different directions. But and then at the end of the film, like what you were talking about, Heather, where he's there now confronting his dad, and now the decision has to be made. What is he going to do? Is he going to put down the guitar, or is he going to take it? And I love just how you see him there, and the movie starts with that scene where he comes into the church. But I love how we go all the way full circle and we're back to that. And then you just see him driving that car, clutching that guitar. And then it just jumps to like 60 something years later. And now he's this successful singer. And obviously it's popular. I like that the name of the band was the Pearlines, I like that, naming it after her and everything. So that was a nice touch. But I like how he's playing, and, he was a successful musician and he did it for years. He got to have his freedom. He got to live the life he wanted to live. And even though it wasn't what necessarily his father wanted, it wasn't what his cousins wanted, it wasn't what the vampire wanted, but the courage and the bravery and the need to just be you and be who you are and embrace your talents and do, or whether it's a talent or not, or just simply doing what it is you want to do. Unapologetically so. So I thought that was so cool. And that final scene, that mid-credit scene where Stack and Mary come in there and listen to him, that was great too. That was great too. When you get all those tidbits about the deal that Smoke made with Stack and seeing them still alive, but now wearing these 90s clothes and stuff like that. So, you get the perspective that they've been living this whole time, but still connected by that music. And him saying, the electric guitar shit, is cool or whatever, but how he said it, how he was like, but I just like that original. I like that original that you used to do. And how he was like, can you still do that? And him pulling that guitar out and them just enjoying that and reflecting on that day when their lives changed and that moment. And it was really cool because, like, for Stack, him and Mary being vampires did feel like a happy ending for them. Like, they got to be together. That which is what they wanted, which is what they felt like their circumstances wouldn't allow. In a way, they got to be together because of all of that. So that was kind of sweet. And then them connecting and having that moment and reflecting on just everything that happened on that day that changed their lives was a very cool scene in a way. It was a very nice ending in a way. And then even still kind of showing the young and the old and kind of that, and still coming back to that connection between the young and the old, the different generations, but the connectivity of music still in that way. So what a beautiful ending for this movie. Despite all the vampire stuff that happened, we didn't have to do the thing of, oh, there's evil still out there or any kind of shit like that. I like how this was still a very meaningful, reflective ending in that way. So, yeah, that's all I had.
Well, touching on a couple of things you guys were talking about and stuff like that. I mean, with the vampires too, it's interesting because it is the illusion of freedom, because they are beholden to Remick. They don't really have freedom. It's just you have the freedom he says is freedom, but it feels like freedom. It can seem like freedom. Is what he says he wants for you can be almost like freedom. And ultimately, even though Stack and Annie got freedom, if you will, they were still beholden to the rules of a vampire.
Yeah, you can't be out in the sun, etc.
And they had to ask to come in. The bouncer was like, yeah, these people are, saying they want to give money to come in. Like, can I let them in? And it's like, yeah. So they had to be invited in at the end of the movie and stuff like that. So there's still those elements that they're beholden to. So is it really freedom type of scenario? To get into some of the cultural things of it all, I think one of the reasons why this vampire was Irish is because of some of the similarities and things like that when it comes to Black culture. A lot of people love to bring up what they call what was white slavery, which was what a lot of Irish people went through, which is still vastly different from the slavery that Black people went through, to be very clear with people. because the white slavery thing was indentured servitude. They could essentially earn their freedom after working for X amount of time. They would technically buy their freedom back. And that was a real thing. But it was completely different than just your property. You were never considered property. You were never considered other things. Irish people were the ones that mainly went through that because of what the British did to them. The British kind of more or less came in and were just like, hey, oh, by the way, we own you. And oh, by the way, the crops that you want to grow and that you need to grow for your families, we're taking from you. That's why the Irish became so synonymous with potatoes, is because that was one of the easiest things to grow there that they could grow enough of to where they would get to keep some of it. Because most of their other crops were taken from them. And stuff like that. But so the idea with that is I think a lot of the conflation that people have had in our culture when it comes to some of that stuff. It's like, oh, black people went through slavery and so did white people with the Irish. They're not really the same. So when Remick's like, oh, I know it. I've been through it. It's that idea. It's that, okay, yes, you've had, horrible things happen to you and your people. Of course. We're not taking that away. But it's not the same. Yes, the Irish were discriminated against for a very long time in this country. Not the same as the way people discriminated against black people. Those are two totally different things. Both can be true. You can both be discriminated against and one be discriminated against less. And I think that ties into it where it becomes the idea of like, oh, look, we're the same. I know what you've been through. I know what it's like. I also hate the racists when it's not really the same. And I think that that's one of the things that was a part of the Remick character. Even going back to with what you were talking about, Jastin, when he's talking about, oh, I've been through the same thing. They tried to indoctrinate me with Christianity too. My culture went through that too. There's a lot of that. It's that false conflation. And I think that that's what adds to his, not villainous ways, but adds to the complexity of him as a villain, because he sees it as almost a one-to-one comparison, and that he knows how to free you of that. When in all actuality, and what, actual history dictates is it's not. The way the Irish got their freedom and their acceptance is a vastly different way than black people did. Because weirdly enough, racists still go, but white. And that's always the biggest hurdle. You can be Irish, but they're like, yeah, but he's white. I mean, you see a little bit of that with the KKK people. Automatically, they're just like, oh, hey, this guy shows up on our door. Let's let him in. The indigenous people show up. Ooh, sketchy. I think that ties a lot into Remick. Then getting into the part with Grace, historically speaking, even during this time period, whilst Chinese people were discriminated against, they were allowed a little bit more leeway than other races. And that's why that family was able to have that store on both sides. They could have their store in the black part of the town, and they could have their store in the white part of town. And by doing that, in a lot of ways, it showed a little bit less of them trying to be a part of a culture. They were trying to be a part of both cultures, or all, you know what I mean? They were trying to kind of not necessarily play both sides, but you know what I mean? Not side one way or another. And I think that kind of leans into why Grace does kind of do that at the end. Because I don't think, especially her husband, I'd argue maybe a little less, but I think for her, she didn't have that connection with Smoke and Stack that her husband did, or with that community like they did. They were a part of it because they were making money. But when it didn't justify or fall within their self-interest, i.e. her wanting revenge and all this other stuff, she had no problem kind of tossing that aside and putting everybody else in danger.
Yeah. And even before that, when Stack first died, she was the one
wanted to bail,
urging her husband, saying, let's get out of here. He wanted to stay and be like, well, hey, Smoke just lost a brother. And she was like, we didn't come here for all of that. Let's get home. So he clearly established that she, like you said, she didn't have the same connection as they did with everybody else.
That's a good point, yeah.
So it kind of helps later when she's like, no, I just want to get to my daughter. And she wasn't sure if they were going to fight or not or anything like that. She was just so unsure of everything. I'm going to take my chances. I'm going to invite them in and force everybody to fight. And if I can get out of this alive, chances are we die or we live. But if I can live, then I can get to my daughter. And that was her only concern. But I think they did set that up with her being like, I don't give a fuck about him losing a brother. Let's get home.
And that's why I said
that right there was your first clue that she wasn't she wasn't going to be a team player.
Yeah. Well, on top of that, her being the one in the white store originally too.
Yeah.
Shows that she was the one that was more openly accepted by white people. That maybe your husband, who was darker skinned than her, might not be as accepted by the white people. So he's the one at the black store. There are those aspects of it too. And I think that that's just kind of some interesting storytelling that has ties to historical stuff. That not necessarily those types of things, but it thematically plays into it. Like I said, even the vampire being Irish in that regard, And also I think some of it falls into some of the ideas too of, even what would have been considered progressive or liberal white people back in those days, where their versions of, oh, look, we're accepting of all, but it's still, but to be like us though, like you have to fall into our mindset of what it means to be like that. And in his more specific instance was the whole vampiric thing, the vampiric hive mind, was the way of portraying that, So I think a lot of that stuff is very interesting within this movie, that you can portray that and show it and have it be a part of your story without also sitting there and going, hey guys, the history of indentured servitude within the Irish community in America. You don't have to have that. You can have it be a part of it, and you kind of just twist it into, vampire shit.
And also, I think a big part of him too was that adds to his villainy is just how sometimes just the exploitation of Black music and just taking advantage of it for your own profits or means or whatever
Your
it
own
is,
gains.
like, yeah, your own gains. Like, that this person has talent and that they're great, but what you're really seeing is something that benefits you. It's not really his dream or what he wanted or his talent or anything like that. It really just was, if I have you, I can do this thing I want to do.
Well, I mean, which ties into the whole idea of like how many like white people back in the day were, more or less fine with black people because they got to exploit them. And so, yeah, they're, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the white producer or the white record owner, producing or having a lot of black artists come in and make albums. You know what I mean? They're like, oh yeah, I love black people. Money.
Yeah.
It falls into that.
Yeah. And just back to the thing about individualism, not everybody wants to be the same. Not everybody wants to think the same. Not everybody wants to do the same. So your idea of connectivity and togetherness may not necessarily mean that it's the idea shared by other cultures, other communities, etc.
Yeah. And even to tie that in a little further with what you were talking about with Sammy, when Smoke's like, oh no, you need to go play church music. You need to go do this. You need to go do that. You don't have to give up music, but you need to do it in this way. It's, ultimately what Sammy was doing at the end was like, choosing the ultimate freedom. I'm going to do the music on my terms. I'm going to do this in my way, and while Smoke might have had the best intentions, it's still, you're telling somebody else to do, to do what you want them to do or
Exactly.
do what you think they should do. And that's like, oh no, that's a good life. That's happiness. That's, that's a good, happy life right there. It's not for Sammy though.
Nope, not for Sammy.
It would have been just as much of a prison.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been just as much of a prison as being a fucking vampire. It's all the same. Like to him, that's Smoke's Remick pitch to him is just, oh, go to this community and play church music. That's the same as Remick going, hey, come be a vampire. It's the same to Sammy,
Mm-hmm.
which is the same as his dad at the end going, throw down the guitar and renounce your ways.
Exactly.
That's all the same to him.
Yeah.
And to him, the only time he felt free was whenever he was playing guitar with Delroy Lindo, which I get. Also, he went out like a boss.
He did. Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm going to buy you guys some time. Wrist slit. Let's go. Come get me, vamps.
He went out on his own terms in a way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Oh, that whole that story he told too about being one of those prisoners. Like he's like, I know what that is.
Mm.
Oh, that's fantastic too.
Yeah.
And I also I think, Jastin, you made a good point earlier when you said that Mary and Sat kind of got a happy ending in a way. It does feel like, as tragic as this movie is, there were some ways where it was kind of happy endings. Cause you think about Smoke as well. And the way it ended for him was it was what he probably would have wanted it to be. He went out getting rid of these guys that he knew were up to no good, being these terrible people. But then at the end of the day, the reason he takes off the mojo bag and all that is because he's like, I don't really have anything else that I need to be here for. I want to be with my family that's on the other side. And that was a beautiful ending too. And I also really liked that, again, you don't need the expository thing or whatever at the end there. When he sees Annie with the baby, when he's sitting there and he sees them, what that means. That means he's dying. You don't need this, showy, let's watch him die or what. You know what it means when that's happening. And it's such great storytelling for stuff like that,
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, so that was a good ending for him, and that was great that they didn't have to explain all that. And you're absolutely right. When he took off that mojo bag, you just knew what that meant. The acceptance of that, and and I get that vampires that they were bad in this and everything, but I think what's cool about the stack Mary becoming that is that was probably the best case scenario for them to be together. So it's kind of like there was a lot of deal making in this, and either ors or taking the best deal you could get and stuff like that. So I feel like of any characters that you could argue benefit more from the vampire deal than anybody else, it's probably them. Remic's dead, so you're not a mental slave to anyone. But the fact that now this is a scenario where they can just be together seemed like a fitting ending for those two. They can't enjoy the daytime, but you still got somebody you can not enjoy the daytime with and enjoy the nighttime with. So it felt like the best deal for those two, Now, obviously you're dead, and a lot of people you cared about are dead and shit. So that sucks. It's not like it was perfectly happy, but when you considered their story and what they talked about, and the fact that he only wasn't with her because he felt like the life that they were living at the time they were living it, and given the situation with their skin colors and her past and his past, how he didn't feel there was any possible way for her to safely be with him. I like that for them too.
Yeah.
So it kind of works, in an ironic sort of way.
Yeah.
It works for them.
Exactly. Real quick though, before we're done, I want to get into some of the controversy of this film. So some of it goes back to the deal that Ryan Coogler got to make this film. He was shopping it around, bidding war. And then, once somebody was like, all right, we'll take your offer. He's like, all right, I've got some more conditions. He wanted final cut. He wanted first receipt box office. So it's not after the movie makes money, like after recoups budget and all that stuff. He wanted initial box office gross returns. And after 25 years, he gets 100% ownership of this film. And Warner Brothers did make that deal with him. And a lot of people are like, oh, but this type of deal is the end of Hollywood. If producers keep wanting to do this, it's the end of Hollywood. Because Hollywood couldn't have any IP at that point. You know what I mean? Like, everything would revert back and all this other stuff. Why did nobody say that when Quentin Tarantino essentially got the same deal for ownership when he did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Nobody complained that was the wording. I wonder why they're having an issue with this one. But then also, you have magazines like Variety who are saying, hey, $60 million worldwide for this R-rated original film. That's pretty good. But its budget was 90, so it's got a long ways till it's profitable. That's the headline.
I was so mad about that.
Wow.
And so you at least even have Ben Stiller coming out going, in what fucking universe is $60 million opening bad? Anywhere. Shut up. Yeah.
Even more than that, he was like, in what world does this warrant this headline?
Yeah. I wonder why. So for all these people that keep complaining about how Hollywood is just a bunch of liberal elites trying to ruin America, no. It's just as shitty. It really is. Which is real funny, considering what the fuck this movie is about. They're saying that about this movie and all this other stuff. And Ryan Coogler even openly said he's not even probably going to look to make that deal for every other movie he makes. He's just like, this movie is about Black ownership. So it kind of makes sense that I want to own it.
Yeah.
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 Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm also not against that idea for everybody anyway. You come up with an original film, own it after 25 years. I think that's reasonable as fuck. I get why Hollywood might not love that, but I think it's reasonable. I don't think that's a crazy ask anyway. But if you're going, look, it's mainly because of what this movie's about. Fair. But also just say the movie's good and it had a damn good opening. Just fucking say that. Don't do this passive racist bullshit, because that's what it is. It's passive racist bullshit. Don't fucking do that. The movie's good.
Yeah.
Because the people that are saying that probably actually even liked the movie.
Yeah.
So stop it.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
like want to undercut a success in some way, or like just steal the joy of the success this movie has. It's weird.
Yeah. And after that opening, that was so good, and it was above projections. It was just, it exceeded expectations. And I want to say Ryan Coogler wrote a letter, like it was like a thank you letter to fans who went and saw the movie. And I need to read that. I wanted to read that before I got on here, and I just didn't get a chance. But
If
I
you
have to
find
read
it and
that.
send
But
it to
apparently
me,
it was a heartfelt letter about it.
if you find it and send it to me, we'll read it before the next episode.
Okay. Will do.
But yeah, just let good shit be good, people. Fucking stop. Just stop.
Yeah.
It's gross. It really is. Because this movie's going to be a success. It feels like you feel it. You know it. Like, especially if people weren't seeing this, because this wasn't the best promoted movie. Let's be real. It wasn't. I think word of mouth is really going to carry this movie. And it should.
It's crazy because like this is one of those movies again where I'm just like, I mean, it's so good. Like everybody should really just love this movie and want to watch it. It reminds me, not really the same, but kind of the same, the sentiment of like how I felt about Barbie. And maybe this is the first time I felt like this much about a movie in that way, because of the fact that it was completely way more than I expected it to be, you know, where it's like, there's actually like an important meaning behind what they're doing here with this. It's not just like, it's well put together and it's fun and it's entertaining, but there's something deeper here that's going to stay with you. And to be honest, like the Barbie movie did that for me too. This in a different way, of course, but like the same idea of like, you know, the impact that it had. And then you just feel like, oh, who would not want to hear this message? But then you're still going to have those people that are like, Barbie hates men. And then like, you know, and then this is just like a, you know, let's undercut the success of this movie because, you know, they just want to undercut Black success. Like, it's just, you know, these important movies that you're just like, why would there be a question of anybody liking and appreciating what this movie's doing? But there's always going to be those people. It's crazy. It's actually just the entire point of why these movies are made.
Yeah.
Which is also funny too, because like a week ago, before seeing this movie, I agree with you, Justin. I kind of thought it was going to be 1930s Black people fighting racist white vampires. And I get, you know, I thought our conversation would have been, oh yeah, these people are just mad because of whatever. And that was going to be the discourse about this movie. It was just be like, oh, people are mad that white people were getting killed by Black people and not like vampires or whatever, like ignoring everything and people not even seeing it, just mad because it's woke. You know, I thought that's the conversation we'd probably be having about this movie. And this movie's not that at all. It's
At all.
It's an oversimplification of everything. It is wildly not that movie. And I think if anybody does have that take on this stuff, you haven't seen it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're just choosing not to because that's what they assume it is, and they just don't like that.
Yeah. And to your point, Heather, that is like the Barbie movie. Because Yeah, the Barbie movie, when anybody coming out of that movie going, Barbie hates men, you didn't watch it. I don't care.
You're the reason this movie's being made.
I don't care if you sat through the movie, you didn't watch it.
Yeah, no way.
It's the same with this. If you think that that's it, you might have went to the movie, you didn't watch it.
Yeah. And I'm hearing nothing but positive about it. Like every view that I could find online, like a lot of internet personalities and people that have reviewed it have been reviewing it positively. I think it's like 98 and 97, like critic score, fan score, which is damn good. That's like, this might be the Paddington of vampire movies. I mean, that's damn near perfect scores on both sides of the spectrum. You know?
And the cinema score, not to be confused with our CineScore, the cinema score, which is where people actually stand outside of movies and then you watch it and they go, hey, did you like the movie? You know, that's actually an A on this movie.
Wow.
Which I think that this is the first horror movie, first original horror movie to have an A cinema score.
Yeah. I just hope it's not so early that we don't see it again award season. I mean, surely it'll have to be up for some things. Like
it has to be.
Surely
up for
it can get a
lots of
few
things.
nods.
It should be up for a lot of things, Jastin.
If it's not, I'm going to
know.
be so upset.
Yeah. Like it should be up for some nods. I mean, because it's a period piece. So you've got costumes, you've got the set stuff that they did. The cinematography was great. You've got acting performances. Like, I don't see it. Then it's an original screenplay. You could do directing. Like, you know,
Would this be original songs? Are these original songs?
I think technically the one Sammy sings is. I don't think the one the one that I think the other one is a kind of an Irish standard.
Yeah, the Irish song is. Yeah, I don't. But yeah, I thought the song that Sammy sang was original, but I could be wrong.
I think it is. But either way, yeah, this. I just don't see how this movie doesn't get all kinds of shit. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? It's just mind-boggling.
Even if it just wins the only thing Barbie really won, which was the box office achievement or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. The only, I mean, some of the things I've seen people say negatively about this movie, I'm like, you're looking for an issue. You want there to be an issue. You're mad that people like it. So you want an issue.
It almost feels like it's the people that just want to be anti what everybody else is. Like, you know what I mean? I saw there was somebody that I know that their opinion was, oh, this just kind of dragged on too long. And the IMAX portions or the non-IMAX portions looked weird or something like that. And I'm like, we are reaching here.
But also,
no offense, but I'm saying.
You're factually incorrect because this movie was 100% shot on IMAX, 60 and 70 millimeter IMAX. Film, not even digital, film. This movie has the first instance of a woman filming on IMAX film for cinematography.
Which is awesome. Like, all of the just things that this movie's doing and even outside of the movie itself, like that's just so cool. Yeah. And I just feel like, you know, and that's no offense to, you know, this person, but I just feel like you're you're really stretching and reaching for like something to be wrong with it because you just feel like, no, everybody can't love this movie. I have to find something that people should not love about this movie. That's what it feels like when there's a movie so widely amazing that you're just like, you're just a miserable person if you're trying to find something wrong with movies like this, you know?
I mean, this is the same type of person that would watch Jaws and go, the shark didn't look real enough for me. Shut up. Shut up.
Yep. That person.
But at the same tone, it's like certain people that have that opinion when it's a movie that everybody hates, they're like, oh, this movie was great. What are you talking about? Like the things about this movie that you're just like, what are we doing here?
They're going to sit there and wax poetic about the cultural significance of Joker Folie à Deux. But they're going to sit here and talk shit about this movie. Fuck off.
Yes.
And I mean
Yeah.
that with all the offense.
And I'm not saying this same reviewer I saw did that. I just think there are people that do that. I've seen that for sure.
Oh yeah.
But I also mean
Joe.
offense to that person. This person's right up there when I'm saying, fuck you, Thaddeus. It's the same thing.
And Kurt and all those people.
Yeah. I've got no problem saying that. I think it's just a weird stance to have. I don't like good movies, guys. Like, it's just, why do you want to say that out loud? I don't like watching a good movie. It's gross.
This is one of those where if you don't like this movie, that actually is an opinion you just keep to yourself.
Just shut up.
Yeah.
No.
You're
Yeah,
dumb.
Just stop it. Just stop it.
Just, it's just such a weird stance to me. I don't like having a good time at a movie theater. Grumpy. I don't like it when my popcorn tastes great and the movie's really good. Man.
The movies was not made for you, friend.
That's what I imagine anybody doing this. They're just my popcorn was perfect. The movie was just great. Grab.
Just a curmudgeon for no reason. Yeah.
And it's sad if my curmudgeon-y ass is saying that. Anyway, anything else, guys?
Nah, I'm done.
No.
On that note, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Check us out on the internet, www.cinemaslayers.com. We are Cinema Slayers podcast on Facebook. We're cinema_slayers on Threads, Instagram, Letterboxd. We are at Cinema Slayers Pod on YouTube and TikTok. Give us a 5-star rating review. We really appreciate it. Really help us out. Tell your family, tell your friends' family, tell your family's friends. And most of all, tell those dear sweet mothers, because dear sweet mothers love
Dirty, sexy blues music?
dirty, sexy movies.
Dirty, sexy movies. Yep. And Delroy Lindo, because you have to.
Hey, he's a part of the dirty sexiness, man.
That's true.
Shout out to Plug Migo and Mundo Ochoa for our theme song and logos, respectively. We here at the Cinema Slayers podcast are pro slut, pro Sydney, pro naked, pro steak fingers. You. Yes, you Cinefans, you are Knuff. Justice for Chris, justice for Todd. Justice for all those wonderful stunt people, animators, and caterers that make all our movie-going dreams possible. Should we also throw, like, I don't know, musical directors or whatever? Because, fuck, this movie's fantastic with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know who to credit. Do we credit a composer? Do we credit the musical director? There's so many different things with that.
Music department.
Yeah. Because we can't necessarily say composers, because then you have like your John Williams and your Hans Zimmers that get all the accolades, and like Danny Elfman. You know what I mean? They get all the accolades with that stuff. So just the musical departments. Justice for the musical departments. You're underrated. Especially with this movie. Holy fuck. You guys hit it out the park with this fucking movie. I guess the only thing left to say is, according to Jastin, Moon Knight is a Best Picture winner.
Also, that scene where Pearline was singing and they were stomping the person whilst stomping on stage was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, all those musical scenes in this were fucking fantastic. I mean, even the one, like I said, with the vampires out there, and they're singing that song, and they're doing their little movements and stuff, and then, like, I loved it when Smoke cuts them off, and they're like, "Oh, we're just about to get to the good part." He's like, "I'm sure you were."
Yeah.
That was fucking great. Also, that was a really cool thing they did too. I liked it whenever the vampires were getting like super horny for blood. They were like drooling. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
It was a nice little touch.
Yeah, I've never seen that in a vampire thing
That's
before.
super cool. Because you get it a little bit with Remick at first when he's talking to what's her name, Mary,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get it with her when she's talking to Stack. I like it too when he's like, "Oh, you're drooling," and she's like, "Yeah, give me your mouth." I'm like, movie. Don't make me blush over here.
I know.
Also, yeah, thank you for bringing back sexy movies. And like also like showing that you can be a sexy movie without just like gratuitous nudity or any of that stuff. Just gotta be sexy.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think about when we talked about Challengers and how everyone's like, that's such a sexy movie. And then you compare it to this one. No offense to Challengers, great movie. But as far as like sexy vibes, this one is leaps and bounds
Dude,
beyond.
I can't tell you. I am so sad I wasn't on the Challengers episode because I can't tell you how disappointed I was with the sexiness of that movie.
Well, I saw somebody on TikTok talking about this movie and the line that Annie says to Smoke, where she's like, "Oh, it seems like your body remembers me," or something like that. And he
Yeah.
says, "Listen, my body remembered you, and I don't even know you." I was like, that was pretty funny.
All kinds of stuff. Well, we didn't even get into the various, explicit lines. I mean, Heather alluded to one, but ooh, the vulgarity just speaks to my soul. Yeah, this movie is sexy. Challengers, you weren't.
You were good.
You were a very good movie.
Yeah.
This is a very good, sexy movie. Like I said, no nudity. Just
Nope.
sexy.
Just an attitude and a
Oh,
way about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just that sexy mentality. Everybody talks about that Mamba mentality. Movies need to get that Sinners mentality.
And like, I know that a lot of the thing with vampires in general is they're supposed to be sexy and they're supposed to be like mesmerizing and all of that. Like, this is a movie that does that in a way where I get it, because typically that's not how I feel about vampires. This one, I understand more so why they're viewed that way,
But also the vampires didn't do sexy vampire stuff. There's the argument because if you think about it, when it comes to Mary, she wasn't saying or acting any way that she wasn't acting before that.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
fair.
So she wasn't being extra sexy because she was a vampire. I mean,
Yeah.
she might have turned it on a little bit more to get him. But
Right.
she was more or less acting the same as she was before that, though, too. So
No, and that's fair. And like, and I guess I mean a vampire movie being sexy, maybe not vampires in general.
I know.
But yes.
It's the exact same conversation we had in Nosferatu.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But yeah, can't wait. Can't wait to watch this again. I haven't said that in a very long time, and we've gotten Black Bag in this. I'm like, fuck yeah! I can't wait to watch these again. It's fantastic.
I haven't been
What
excited
time to
about
be alive.
Yeah, like I haven't been as excited to talk about a movie as I have this
Guys,
one in a
you
long
think
time.
about this too. We just got off of fucking Snow White and Minecraft. Oh, do you know how happy it is just to like a movie? Oh, it's great. But then on top of that, just being
Let alone
excited
love
to
one.
watch it again.
I had someone ask me today if I saw Minecraft and if I liked it. And then the other person in the conversation was like, do you have a movie you can recommend to me? Nothing horror. And I was like, it hurts my soul that I can't tell you to watch Sinners and that I have to, like have a conversation about somebody who did really like Minecraft. I just don't know what to do with myself in that situation.
See, you were much nicer than me, Heather, because I still would have recommended Sinners. Like, no
That's
horror.
fair.
And I'd be like, hear me out. Sinners. They're like, isn't that a horror film? Yes. But I said
It's
no
also
horror.
a drama.
I don't care.
Yeah, because you could also be like, I have a good drama for you. I have a good historical fiction for you, or whatever. And it would still be the same.
I mean, I'd just say, look, it's a damn good movie that has some horror elements in it. And like I said, I'd make the comparison. Like, is Jaws okay with you? Probably. Then this should be too.
Yeah.
You wouldn't tell them about the chicken jockey?
That is my horror, Jastin. My literal horror. That is the bane of my existence. That is the 9th circle of my own hell.
What if they find out they missed it because they watched Sinners?
Good. They should thank me. If you watch
A
Sinners,
long ass letter too.
if you watch Sinners and you don't know what the chicken jockey is, write me a thank you note.
In the same fashion that Ryan Coogler wrote a thank you to his fans.
Yes.
We want that level of thank you.
I want you to
Just
take out
that level.
I want you to take out a full-page ad in the Chicago Tribune talking about how thankful you are to me because you don't know what a chicken jockey is and you've watched Sinners. You're welcome.
Part of me also now wants to know if like that same the same people that were writing about like Sinner still has a ways to go is the same people that were like Minecraft hit more than Barbie did in theaters or whatever it said. That would be interesting if it's the same publication.
Fucking ghouls is what they are. They're fucking ghouls. Just wretched, diabolical people. Can you imagine saying that? Hey, this good movie just, hadn't made enough money yet. Made a ton. Made a stupid amount of money. It hadn't made enough yet. Fuck off, dude. Fuck off. What's the movie this weekend? Until Dawn. Yeah, Sinner's still going to be number one. I've heard Until Dawn's actually pretty good. Sinner's still going to be number one box office.
Because I was looking it up, it is the same people. They were like, according to, can I say who it is? Is it going to be weird? Okay, Variety.
Yeah, say Variety. I just didn't remember because fuck that.
They said it has surpassed expectations and is currently the highest grossing film of the year, ahead of Captain America, according to Variety. It's the same people that were like, Sinners has a ways to go. I'm like, what is this?
Ghouls.
Yeah.
Just the wretches of society. Just scum-sucking leeches. Disgusting.
I can never trust them again.
Fucking bottom feeders. I would call them vultures, but that's an insult to vultures.
Hey.
Justin, don't say dang like what I'm saying is unreasonable. I'm being very reasonable right now. All right, guys. Anything else?
Nah.
All right. I'm out.